And we are live. How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and you're watching and/or listening to ABL Live. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. You could be almost anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me, live in the show, and I appreciate y'all for that. We got a whole lot going on all over the internets, all over mainstream media, social media, everywhere, and I don't know where to start. First of all, the U.S. government has finally confirmed the so-called lab leak theory. Like, we didn't know that back in 2020, 3 years ago. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Deion Sanders, Hall of Fame NFL football player, got into a little bit of hot water, a little bit of controversy over some things he said about single parents and college football players and what he wants as far as recruits. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Lori Lightfoot officially out as mayor of Chicago. Now, there's much cause for celebration, but at the same time, there's a little bit of pause for concern because, okay, if she's out as the mayor, who's going to be put in there? Who's this guy, Paul Vallis? Who's the other guy? Will they be any better? Will they be worse than Lori Lightfoot? We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Sky Adams. Oh, yeah. You know, I wanted to avoid Sky Adams, but there were so many people talking about, hey, man, you got to do a video on it. You got to talk about it. So we're talking about that. Also, I did a short video about your man, Voldemort Zelensky, saying that your sons and daughters will fight in the war. We'll talk about all that good stuff on tonight's episode of ABL Live. Let's get a little bit of focus on the camera. Thank you for joining me tonight. You guys are the best audience anywhere on these internets. If you enjoy what you are hearing thus far, please give the video a thumbs up, like the video, share the video, do all of that good stuff. All right, somebody right from Chicago, right on time, Gino from Chicago. Gino from Chicago says, Vallis has some, quote unquote, conservative values. Johnson is all for defunding the police and some extreme ideas. Willie Wilson is, I was somewhat more interested in. Okay. Well, I think it's between Vallis and Johnson. So hopefully, out of the two, it looks like Vallis would be the guy that you should vote for, or he's the guy that should win out of those two. I don't know about the guy if he's the best person you could actually have in office, but from what you're saying, Vallis appears to be the best choice. But you guys are fantastic. Thank you for being here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for the compliment. Always Loaded 45 for the beer. I appreciate that. But we got quite a few things on deck. First of all, shout out to my sponsors. Of course, my websites. As always, you guys got to visit AnthonyBLogan.com. That is ANTHONY, the letter B, LOGAN.com. Once you go to the front page of my website, you're able to find all of my recent videos, and there's an article written for each. Okay, there's an article written for each, and you'll be able to find resources about the video. So, for example, if I mention a particular thing and you say, hey, ABL, where'd you get that source? Where'd you get that from? How do you know that? I'll link to all my sources in the description of the article for the video. AnthonyBLogan.com. Also go to AnthonyBLogan.com/contact to find my email address, my snail mail address, my social media accounts, my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm also on TikTok for now. I don't like TikTok because of the whole China thing, but I got to get a message out there. I got to get to where the people are at. So I'm on there. I'm not sure for how long, but we'll see how this whole thing works. I put a video on there today about Zelensky and what he said about your sons and daughters fighting in the war, potentially. I'll get to that in a minute. But go to AnthonyBLogan.com/contact for all my social media outlets, my contact information, email address, email address, all of that. And of course, as always, PSA, if I post a video, or I'll say when I post a video and you guys are commenting on it, and then somebody responds to your comment on one of my videos, and that person who responds to your comment looks like me, they may have my picture, they may have a similar name as me or the same name as me, and they're asking you about, hey, can you contact me on this number? Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about what they say, Bitcoin and Forex and other weird stuff, some kind of get rich quick scheme. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If I respond to your comment, it's pretty easy to see that I responded. You'll be able to see my comment lit up. Let me see if I can show you guys right now how my comment looks and how it's different from other comments. Let me see if I could pull it up right now for you guys. But you'll be able to see my comment versus everybody else. Okay. Matter of fact, here's one right here. I got it for you right on deck. I got it for you right on deck. Now, hold on. Let's move it over a little bit, shall we? You see right there, somebody commented, and then you see my comment right up underneath it. Okay. It's highlighted and looks different than everybody else's. It's highlighted. Now, you're not going to see that highlight on anyone else's comment on my channel except for me. All right. That means it's me. And when I comment, I'll ask you a question. I'll say thank you, something like that. I'm never going to ask you to contact me. I will never, ever, ever ask you to contact me in a YouTube comment. If you want to contact me, go to the website. If you're ever skeptical about if it's me or not, go to the website and see if it's on there on the contact page. But if you find yourself in the conversation with somebody talking about some get rich quick scheme, it's not me. And I give that PSA every show just to make sure that you guys are informed. And I need to just go ahead and do a video and have that be that. All right. So I need to go ahead and do that so you guys can really, really get it. And I don't want anybody to get scammed. I want everybody to have a nice, safe environment here on my channel. And again, the website got everything on there. Also, if you want some merch from me, go to ablmerch.com. That is ABLMerch.com. We got hats, t-shirts, stickers, hoodies, mugs, and more on the merch site. Again, ablmerch.com. Also, let's talk about my good friends over at patriotpost.us. They're your best source of news and information anywhere on the internets. That's patriotpost.us. And also, you guys check out my column. So on Patriot Post, I'll be writing a weekly column, maybe about 600 to 800 word column about whatever I want to talk about. Okay, they gave me a platform. And matter of fact, we're going to go to the website right now, patriotpost.us. Let's go there right now. And you see, there I go right there on the left-hand side of the screen. And this is my column right here. All right. So this is the grassroots viewpoint. You click on the column, and there it is. There I am right there on the website. This is my written column that I wrote. All right. And then they put the video right there that corresponds to it. Now, normally on my website, I'll write small stuff just for context. I don't get this deep into it. All right. But for them, I'll do a weekly column. And then sometimes it'll be the video linked to it. Sometimes it won't. This is going to be every week. I think it's going to be on Wednesday to come out. So if you want to read my column on Patriot Post, go there every Wednesday. It'll be there. So shout out to them. Really good friends out here in Chattanooga. Great website. Overall, just great people. So you guys, if you're not subscribed to them, if you're not following them, please do so right now. patriotpost.us. All righty. Check out my column every Wednesday and check out all the other good content on there. They got memes. They got other columns. It's a really good place if you want to read information. I know a lot of you guys are very avid readers, as am I. Hopefully you guys enjoy my column. I've not written a lot in a minute. When I was much younger, I used to write a lot. Getting straight A's in English classes was nothing. I was always very good at writing since I've been a little boy, like 5, 6 years old. I've always been a good writer. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I think my skills at writing columns will get better. They edit myself a little bit, but not really. They might tighten up some of my grammar, but you know, I got some good feedback from them. They were like, hey man, the column is perfect. You don't have anything to add. We're going to go ahead and run it. So yeah, check it on out. Audiobooks for you. Hey, shout out to the audiobooks too. And that wrong with audiobooks. I enjoy, I've not heard an audiobook yet, but I've, heard podcasts, of course. If I'm driving or something, I'll put on the podcast. My reading nowadays consists mostly of researching. If I'm trying to find out information about a particular topic, a video that I'm going to do, or if I'm going to write an article or write a column, I'll read a bunch of articles from all kind of different sources, and I'll figure out what's going on to get to the core of the issue to make sure that I'm informed about what's going on. All right. So you've been getting it for years, Anthony McQuaid, Patriot Post. Well, shout out to you, man. Thank you for supporting my good friends over there. All right. But yeah, that is it for the sponsors. We got quite a few topics on deck for tonight, and I'm not really sure where to begin. I got some videos for you guys as well. I think I can go ahead and just kick it off with some videos. Before I get to the topics that are written here, I have some videos that are not on the topics. And you know what? I want to show one video that I did not make I did not respond to like in the official video. So this would be a good one to start before we get to the real topics, okay? Now, this guy right here, I'm going to play this, and it's kind of a thing about who's right and who's wrong in a situation. All right, let me make sure I can just, I want to tighten this up a little bit so we don't have nothing weird going on. You guys will see this guy has no shirt on. I ain't trying to have it be, too unfamily friendly. So you guys listen to what he's saying, and then you guys let me know what you think about it. I might pause it at a certain point so it doesn't just play. It's like a 2 or 3 minute clip. All right, so let's check this out.
All right, guys, we have a real rant today, a serious rant. I encountered an absolute today on the plane, and I wanted to slap him, but I didn't because I was on a plane and I had to restrain myself. But hear me out. Tell me if it's justified, if it's not justified. So when I booked the flights, we booked here. This is Virgin Business. There's only 8 seats on the plane. So Zoe was sitting over there on the far left. I don't know where my finger's gone. Far left. And I was sitting here in that seat. So this seat and that seat were both taken. But I was like, it's fine because either this guy here next to the aisle, he swaps with me, gets the exact same seat on the opposite side, or this guy gets his window seat on the other side.
So just to make sure we're on the same page. So he buys tickets for him and his wife, I believe, and they're in, I guess, business class, and there's only a few seats that they can sit in. But when he books the tickets, he does not get the tickets side by side. But once he gets on the plane and he realizes where everybody's going to sit, he's like, okay, it's not really a big deal. All I got to do is just ask one person to move, to swap seats, and everything will be good. I'll sit next to my wife. That is what he said so far.
Easy, yeah? No matter what, me and Zoe are sitting together. Wrong. We're not sitting together. We walk onto the plane, and this Gene is here in this seat. I politely ask him, hey, bro, would you mind moving so I can sit with my missus? It's her birthday. And he just looks at me and doesn't respond. And I was like, I've got this seat, so it's sort of the same. Is it possible if you switch to here? He just doesn't respond to me. And then he's like, no, I won't. But I'll sit here. So he wants to take Zoe's seat and go and sit on the window. Zoe's not a great flyer. She can get super nauseous, blah, blah, blah. So she always needs to sit next to a window. Cool. That's on us. No worries, right? But either way, he's either getting this seat, which is in the exact same spot, just on the other side of the aisle, but he won't take that. He's like, nah, I'll only move to here. So he'll make us sit either side of the aisle. Just for no reason. There's literally no reason. It's the same seat. So anyway, I'm like, bro, really? You sure you can't just swap seats to this? And he just doesn't respond to me. And I was ready to literally lay into this guy. But anyway.
Yeah, somebody said it right there in the comments. Wah, exactly.
So Zoe goes and sits in her seat, and then I'm sitting here, and this gronk is sitting in between us. Zoe says, hey, excuse me, is it possible for us to switch seats? Is there some sort of problem? Whatever, it's my birthday today. I would like to sit
It's my birthday. That means I'm entitled to the seat.
My partner, whatever. And he's like, nah, no problem. Just not moving. What the fuck? Am I missing something? Can somebody explain to me what the hell is going on here? It's the same seat, just on a different side of an aisle. Can somebody please tell me what the hell is going wrong here? Surely I'm not in the wrong.
Now, look, there's more, but it's not really too much more to that. I mean, ultimately, he was upset that he couldn't get the seating arrangement that he wanted. and he was asking people to get out of their seat to accommodate him and his wife. But it's like, look, you're not entitled to that. Now, personally, me, I'm a really nice guy. I'd have moved and I'd have made it work for them because I'm that kind of guy. I'm very accommodating. I'll help you out. I'm that guy that'll do whatever I can to make sure that everybody's comfortable. That's why I don't really have any kind of problems with people. Even people that didn't like me before respect me now because everybody knows that I'm that kind of person. I'll look out for you. That's me. But you can't expect everybody to be like me. Not everybody's going to be on the same page. They might say, you know what? No, I don't want to move. You have no right to expect or require people to just bow to your to whatever you want. You can ask somebody something. If they say no, that's their decision. They have the right. Because you can't make them do it. You have to ask. They could say yes or no. And they said no. So what you gonna do? Maybe when you book the tickets, you should have booked them properly. You know, and if you didn't, you know, there's a risk you might not get the arrangement that you want because the seats could have all been filled up. They could have all been filled up with people that were sitting next to each other. And then you want to come in there and try to regulate. No, it doesn't work like that. People saying, why? And you know what? It's just really what that video said to me. It's a entitlement generation. That's all. And don't mind me right here. I'm just fixing the window back to the way it was so I don't forget about it later. But it's an entitlement generation because ultimately there was he didn't have any real, how can I say, ownership of the seat. Nothing. It was just a request that he got denied. Okay. Someone said, are you 5? Exactly. He said, no, should have dropped it. Exactly. What are we talking about? If you ask me a question and I say no, have that be that. You can say that I'm being difficult. You can say whatever you want to say, but guess what? I have the right to do whatever I want to do. I'm not violating any rules. I'm sitting in my seat. I got my ticket right here. I'm sitting in 2A and I'm not moving from 2A. You might want me to move from 2A, but I'm going to sit right here throughout the entire flight. And matter of fact, I'm going to ignore you. I'm not even going to look in your direction. And so he put that up there thinking that it was going to be, everybody was on his side, but pretty much everybody in the comment section was saying the exact same thing that I said. It's like, you're crying about a seat. You're entitled. Nobody owes you anything. And I don't know what kind of accent that was. Was he Australian? His whole getup was confusing. You got this U.S. tattoo looking type of thing going on, but you got this Australian British type accent. I have no idea what was happening. It was kind of like Andrew Tate. It's like, you an American or you from the UK? I can't tell. But anyway, it's like this Western thing where you're just entitled, where people just got to do things because you want them to. I think that's just so corny. And then it kind of goes further when you get into the pronouns and things of that nature. It goes much, much further than that. I got more videos for you guys. Now, I got one of this person, and it's a warning because the person is kind of dressed up, not necessarily in an inappropriate way, but if you don't want kids to see stuff like this, I understand. Let me see if I can find that right quick. I won't say the person is inappropriately dressed. It's just you got a dude wearing female clothing. But it's to the point where I got to ask a question. Why is it that whenever I see a lot of these videos of a so-called trans person, they look more masculine than some of the regular normie dudes? Like, what is the deal? All right, so check this out. Now, this person got upset about somebody not using the proper pronouns. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, it's ma'am. Remember that guy? It's ma'am. It reminds me of that particular person right there. It's like, all right, you're talking about it's ma'am, but that voice says it's sir. All right, let's check it out. Hold on.
I'm not even gonna lie. If you come and visit me at work and don't use my pronouns when they're right on my top, I have this here. We have pride flags over there and basically fucking where. And then don't apologize when I correct you on the right pronouns.
Okay, so you know what? It's a lot of male aggression. It's like if this person was just to be dressed regularly, I'd be like, all right, so you trying to fight or what? Like, what would it be? Are we fighting? Are these fighting words? I'm feeling a bunch of testosterone going on. If you want estrogen, it's not working at all. I'm seeing straight testosterone going on right now.
And just say, oh, yeah, don't expect me to be nice about it. I deserve to be safe at work, comfortable at work, and also to be respected at work. And if you're not going to be a part of that, I'm not going to give any respect back to you.
It's ma'am. That's what I get right there. It's always like that. It's always some person that's like overly masculine trying to be feminine. It's like, that's not, we got a sickness going on in society in the West where that kind of stuff is happening. It's really weird. And I see that so much all over the place. And I feel like a lot of that is social media influencing people to be like that, because maybe just being a regular white guy, you're not getting quite as much attention as you want, or you feel like you're not adequate. So then you got to create this alternative identity and be something else, even though it doesn't fit. You sound like you drive trucks for a living, but you want to try to be like this coffee shop girl. I don't understand. It's weird. Another weird accent. Exactly. Like, what's going on with these accents? Like, you hear my accent, you know, okay, Black American, you pretty much understand what's going on. But these guys, I don't know what's going on. You got a girl voice and the dude voice simultaneously. The bass of a dude, but the intonation of a girl. I'm not going to help you. Like, that ain't really it, sir. But yeah, okay, I'm not going to show no more videos like that. But I do have more to talk about before we get to the regular topics. And if you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff. There was a news story I saw that I've not done a video on about driverless cars. Now, remember I showed you guys the video from Rick Ross, the rapper, and he was saying that he never been in a Tesla before because he thought that the Tesla, the brain of the car could get hacked and then drive you somewhere else where you don't want to go. Like, it could, you know, it might just kind of work on its own against you. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that clip right quick. And then I'm going to show you the news story that I saw. Here it is. Here we go. Let me go ahead and just get that tightened back up.
Won't have a smart, well, I'm not going to say I won't have a smart car, but I've never ridden in a Tesla.
Never.
Never in my life.
No smart car.
I've never ridden in a Tesla, and the reason being is because I've always had in the back of my mind the government could tap into the brain of the car.
Yeah.
Okay, where's Rick? He's over here. Now, bring him in for questioning.
Tesla bring him in.
Nigga like, where I'm going? Yo, it's leaving Wingstop before the wings.
So basically, he's like, look, I've never been in a Tesla before because it's too electronically controlled. You got autopilot. The government can hack into the car, tap into the brain of the car. And then if you want it for any kind of questioning, you got warrants on you. They could just drive you straight to the police station. Okay. And some people said that he was bogus for that, or tinfoil hat, but we know that that's a plausible thing. Like that could happen. So here is another news story. Future Ford cars may repossess themselves. Listen, future Ford cars may repossess themselves if you miss a payment and drive itself back to the repro agency. Imagine that. Now, is that far-fetched? Is that a thing that couldn't happen? Or do you think that's right in the possible realm? That could happen. Why not? If the car has autopilot and it knows where it's going, it's a smart car, it knows where it's going. They know if you've not paid your payment, that could all be tied into the system. All they got to do is push a button, and then they could just send itself back. And it could detect if it's being blocked in, if it's in the garage, if it's in some kind of place where it can't get out. if there's cars behind it, it can detect it. It can already see on your car right now. If you got a car in the past few years, you got backup cameras. I was driving the rental car. I was driving a Audi A4, a 23 Audi A4. Not only was it a backup camera, it had a camera on the roof or something, so I was able to see peripheral in the actual dash screen. So in the dash screen, I could see peripheral, I could see behind me and in front of me. I could see around the entire car, 360. So if I can see that right there on the infotainment screen, why can't the car itself see that and recognize what's around it? You got blind spot monitoring where if it's a car right beside you, your headlights will light up and say it's a car right there. Okay, matter of fact, it'll make noise. It'll tell you all of that. So it can see all that. So it can determine if it's being blocked in, what's the best route to get from point A to point B, and then drive itself right back to the dealership. So what Rick Ross said was right on point. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, it's going to get crazy. Yep, they got 360 cameras. Oh, listen, Lucian Poe said, so in the future, hackers will be the new auto tuners. Yes, that's right now. That's going on right now. That's not even the future. That's today. Because really, a lot of your cars that are out there in the world today are basically computers on wheels. And when they make it be all electronic, all electric, it's going to be 100% a computer on wheels. But the way it is now, it's like that. And I saw this story some years ago, actually, of this guy getting carjacked with a device. So what happened was this guy pulled up to the hood, quote unquote, in Atlanta. He pulled up to a place, talked to some people. I think he was running for office or something like that. He pulls up to a place, talk to people, and he has this real nice car with an auto start, with a push button start. This little kid came up beside his car with a device and somehow was able to spoof his key because the guy was right there with the key fob. He spoofed the key and then started the car with the key and drove off with a device. They can spoof your key. They got those RFID readers. They can, like, let's say, for example, I'm not sure if they have fixed this, but years ago, what they could do is if you had your key close to the front of your house, people could come by your house and not even break in with a device to scan your key and spoof it. And if your car is sitting outside, they could just go ahead and spoof it, open your car, unlock it, and start it with the spoof key and drive off. Now, then they had, before they patched it, I think recently, the Kia boys. What the Kia boys are doing is starting Kia, maybe even Hyundai, but definitely Kia cars with an iPhone charger. Okay, if it didn't require a key to be in the ignition, they could break open your steering manifold and start the car with an iPhone charger and take off. Yep, there was one video I saw on Instagram where this girl had the club on her steering wheel. They cut that off and they did the iPhone charger start. Took a car on a joyride and brought it back with the club cut up on the ground in the front seat, in the front passenger seat, with all kind of weed and everything else just spilled in there. It's crazy. Technology is crazy. Technology is a mess. And exactly. I can't pronounce your name. JB Scotchman. There we go. JB Scotchman. Old trucks, old cars may have quote unquote old tech, but sometimes the new tech is not very good. Maybe more convenient, but is it more? Is it better? Is it better overall? Is it safer? Possibly. We're talking about blind spot monitoring, lane assist, all kind of stuff like that. But what about the ability to get your car stolen, broken into, or whatever? Yeah, keyless fob is definitely vulnerable for sure. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I prefer keys on my vehicle. Just old school. Some old school technology doesn't need to be fixed. You know what they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they're fixing certain things that now need to be that they fix certain things that weren't broken and they've broken them. Now they kind of got to go back to the basics, because with Kia, what they did was issued a firmware update to make it to where you couldn't start the car without the key in the ignition. So they're going back to the key entry and key ignition versus what happened before, where you could just use the iPhone charger and start the car. All right. That's what that is. Yeah, old cars easily hotwired, but I mean, how easy is it to just start a car with an iPhone charger or spoofing the key? It's much easier. You know, that's no fuss, no muss. It's just straight technology. Makes it much easier. But if you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff. Oh, yeah. And speaking about the technology of some of these cars, if you have an all-electric vehicle, man, and them cold temperatures, good luck. You can use an electric vehicle without much problem in, I guess, kind of moderate environments. I would assume that an electric vehicle would not perform very well in a very hot environment or a very cold environment. If it's very cold, it's going to be a problem. Is it even going to charge? That's one thing. If it's very hot, it's going to overheat. Your Teslas and other strictly battery-powered vehicles, even in a regular gasoline, vehicle, it's going to be cooled by a lot of different things. A lot of different cooling is going to go on. And in the battery vehicle, battery only, it's quite a bit of cooling. They got this whole system to cool your actual vehicle. Like even in a personal computer, like my desktop right here, I got a bunch of cooling in there. I got fans on it. And then some guys got water cooling in their PC, all kind of stuff. So think about your vehicle that's out there on the road, friction and heat and extreme weather and the sun beaming down on it, parking lots, all kind of stuff. It could be a lot going on. So it's a mess. It is a whole big mess. I think we need to kind of go back a little bit with the technology and embrace some of the older stuff, embrace some of the tradition, rather than just leaning into all the technology without really being prepared to utilize it in the best way. But I digress. Speaking about technology and things of that nature, can we just skip straight to the lab leak theory? I want to get to that right away because the lab leak theory, oh my goodness, like we all knew this in 2020 because, okay, let's just revisit the whole thing. Let me see if I can find a compilation first. And I have videos of them trying to spin this. Wait a minute. Wait. I have videos that I might not be able to find the compilation right now, but I'm going to just get to it. So back in 2019, 2020, C-19 hits the world. We see videos in Wuhan, China, people falling out, dying. And this is also recent to me, but it's been 3 years. This is March 2020. I remember everything about this like it was yesterday. I remember covering this in depth. I remember being in LA. I showed that video when I was on Jubilee for the whole Scott Adams video I did earlier today. I was in LA in March 2020, right when the scandemic first popped. And I remember being in LAX, coming back home, because when I went there, it was kind of it was kind of floating around. This is like early March, like March 8th, 2020, when I went there. I came back on like the 10th or the 11th, right around then. So on the way back, I'm in LAX. I'm seeing all kind of weird face masks. I'm seeing bandanas. I'm seeing T-shirts, hoodies, anything over the face and the mouth because people were so scared. I was in there just chilling, no mask on, just like, all right, what's going on? Like, And by the way, I travel all over the country in 2020, 2021, 2022, and I'm gonna travel some more this year. And I never had a problem at all. Okay, knock on wood, whatever. I never had a problem. But anyway, people were so scared. And then the bathrooms, oh my goodness, the bathrooms in LAX, I've never seen so much hand washing. So my question is this. Were you guys just using the bathroom in the airport, one of the dirtiest places in the whole world, and not washing your hands? And then you're wondering why you're getting sick? Like, you go into the airport bathroom, doing number 2, not washing your hands and then going straight to the TGI Fridays, getting you a drink, hamburger, eating that with your hands, and you're like, hey, why did I get sick? Why am I not feeling good? Well, maybe you should have been washing your hands before C-19 came about. The bathrooms, the sinks were filled with hand washers. Everybody washing their hands vigorously. Never seen it before. That means y'all won't wash your hands before this whole thing happened, but I digress. The whole point is, I remember being out there when the virus first hit. I remember all the coverage. I remember all the videos that came from China, people passing out. People just, it was a mess. Now, they gave us two options, basically, two ways that this whole thing could have come about. Or there were two options presented. The first one was somebody ate a bat. I'm talking about not the baseball bat. I'm talking about a bat, an animal, a mammal, whatever it is, a flying thing. Somebody ate that at a wet market. So somebody captured a bat out of a cave or the sky, whatever, decided to cook it, and then a Chinese person ate it. Now, that created some kind of foodborne illness, which became COVID-19. Now, we now know that COVID-19 is a genetically modified or engineered version of the common cold, hence the name coronavirus, corona head cold virus. It's a genetically engineered version of the common cold, which targeted certain people, elderly, obese. But somebody eating the bat caused that to happen. And it spread throughout Wuhan and then throughout the entire world. That was the first explanation. But the second explanation was that the virology lab in Wuhan, China, leaked this genetically modified thing they had been working on to the immediate outside area, probably because the Chinese are disgusting when it comes to their habits of cleanliness in hospitals. Not saying Chinese people specifically being racist, quote unquote. I'm talking about the Chinese government. There's no regulation on that. It's not. I was watching the channel called Lao Wai. It's about two American guys, two white guys who lived in China for a while. They're talking about, one of the guys said he went to this very big hospital in Beijing or somewhere, Shanghai, Beijing, one of the major cities. The hospital was gigantic. Penn Station, I'm talking about huge. And he said that he could not find one bar of soap in the whole hospital. Not one bar of soap in the hospital. We're talking about, you have a lot of wealth and prosperity in some of the Chinese areas, but do you not know about germ theory though? Anyway, I digress. Because of the practices in China, somebody in the lab didn't clean off the situation properly. The virus gets out. People around the facility get infected. They stop travel in China to or from Wuhan, but they allow them to get on planes and they go throughout the entire world and infect the whole world. Now, millions dead. So which option makes more sense? The first one I mentioned or the second one? The first one about the bat, the rat, the cat, the dog, and the wet market, or the virology lab right there in Wuhan leaked it to the people that are right outside the lab. Now, we were told if we thought that the second one made sense, that we were just tripping. We didn't know what we were talking about. That didn't make any sense. It's impossible. You guys are conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wearers, all this, that, and the third. Now, the Department of Energy why is the Department of Energy commenting on this? How are they even involved? Department of Energy? Why not HHS? Why the Department of Energy? I don't really understand. They're more worried about cows farting and trucks and gas and electric energy and Teslas. Why are you talking about the virus? I don't really get it. But anyway, they said that the lab leak theory is starting to make more sense. And they're talking about something with low confidence. So you think with low confidence that this theory makes sense. Why would you think, why would you say that if you don't have confidence in it? It's so dumb. But we all know what makes the most sense. All right. We all know what makes the most sense. Matter of fact, hold on. There's no full compilation I have. I might be able to find it. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to find a compilation. Hold on. Because I really want people to see. I know a compilation exists. I know it exists, so I'm gonna find it. And if I can't, I'm gonna just play some of what we Okay, there we go. Shout out to Outkick. Shout out to Outkick. Okay, let's see this right here. Yeah, okay. This is mostly things you're going to be able to read from a lot of blue checks going back to like 2021. All right. So this person right here, these names, Apurva Mandavili. Wow, these names are ridiculous. Wow. Okay. Somebody says someday we will stop talking about the lab leak theory and maybe even admit its racist roots. But alas, that day is not yet here. That's back May 26, 2021. Okay. Bobby Barack says dangerous racist conspiracy turn reality. And I don't think this person is saying that it's like that. He's just posting compilation, right? Here's something for 2020. Nearly 30% in the U.S. believe a coronavirus theory that's almost certainly not true. Okay, so if you were part of the 30% like me who believe the lab leak theory, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You know more than the federal government did at that point. Okay, here's another one. From 2021, lab leak COVID-19 theory is like something out of a comic book. Virologist says, okay, the Wuhan lab leak hypothesis is a conspiracy theory, not science. June 3rd, 2021, from Forbes. So that was Forbes magazine, CNN Health, all of that. CNN again, they all said it was fake. And let me see if I can find another thing here that we can get down to the bottom of. Here's one. Here is one. Scientists debunk accident theory of pandemic emergence. That's April 2020. China lab rejects COVID-19 conspiracy claims, but virus origins still a mystery. I mean, come on. Like, even Jon Stewart said it. He was like, well, come on, like, and Jon Stewart got called all kind of racist and everything else. Let me see if I can pull his clip up. I'm gonna pull this up right quick because that was crazy. That was totally crazy. Oh yeah, here we go. This is from what's this? The Tonight Show, I think. Let's check it out. Hold on. Like, this just made so much sense. It wasn't even funny. It made too much sense to be true. Hold on. Let's play it.
Science has in many ways helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science.
The captions right here are funny. The little thing in between the clips, it says, comedian Jon Stewart sent nervous laughter through the audience. And there's viral clip from the first Late Show back in the Ed Sullivan Theater since the pandemic.
Do you mean like perhaps there's a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well, but
oh my
if there
God.
is evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's
I just don't know.
a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think?
Exactly. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's basic common sense. Why can't we use our common sense for things like this? Why is that somehow offensive? Why is that not permitted? Oh, I get it. Never mind, because we got to just do what we're told, not use our brains, just whatever the government says, pretty much just roll with it, right? Okay, cool.
So wait a minute. you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle.
Exactly. And Jon Stewart, I'm not saying he's a friend to the conservative movement, because like somebody said that he was a shot pusher. But see, that right there, this whole thing about where the virus came from, it kind of goes across your political ideology. If you believe in the vaccine, it goes beyond that. This is just basic common sense. And anybody with a brain can see what's going on here. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. It does not take a rocket. Anybody could have seen it for what it was. All right. Now, here is Jon Stewart reacting to the news that he was like he's right. He's vindicated. Hold on. This is on a podcast. See, he's got his own podcast called The Problem with Jon Stewart. It's interesting. Let's go ahead and run that right quick.
The Department of Energy came out with a report saying that they said low confidence, but that the COVID-19 was a result of a lab leak.
Are you trying to get me canceled again?
I know. I've gotten so many texts being like, "Is John gloating?"
Do you feel vindicated?
No, there is no. First of all, I wasn't waiting for the Department of Energy to weigh in on it. That's one of those.
You were refreshing the Department of Energy feed.
What is the Department of Energy?
With low confidence.
It's not about certainty, or the larger problem with all of this is the inability to discuss things that are within the realm of possibility without falling into absolutes and litmus testing each other for our political allegiances as it arose from that. My bigger problem with that was I thought it was a pretty good bit that expressed kind of how I felt. And the two things that came out of it were I'm racist against Asian people and how dare I align myself with the alt-right.
Yeah, hey, but you know what? Part of this culture is what people like Jon Stewart have fostered. And you don't really realize how damaging it is until you are the one that becomes victimized by it. You know, how dumb it is. Like you set the whole culture up, and then it entraps you when you go against the general narrative that they put out there for you to believe in. That's, kind of what happened here, in my humble opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know what's going on.
And I thought, well, that's such a peculiar, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, and God bless you if you don't, I'd gone on Stephen Colbert's show. Stephen is a young, up-and-coming.
Well, we already know the whole story. I just played it right there. So, yeah, shout out to, a lot of people on the left are starting to realize that they've created a monster. And now they got to deal with it. Now they're being consumed by the monster. I can't really say I feel bad, but at the same time, it's good that people are starting to recognize what's going on. Even if they were participating in it, even if they were involved with it, they are starting to kind of realize what's going on. And what I want ultimately is for them to just see the error of the ways and come to the other side and realize they made a mistake and just, get rid of all that good stuff. That's what I want to see. So, yeah, shout out to Jon Stewart. Shout out to everybody out there. Oh, hold on. And I got more about that whole thing about the lab leak. Yeah, I got more. I got Jimmy Kimmel talking about a lab leak. I forget who the guy was I just played. I know it was Jon Stewart, but who was the other guy? Was it Colbert? Yeah, Colbert. So I got another late night host talking about the whole thing. And let's see what he says about it. This is Kimmel. So let's see what he says.
Speaking of diarrhea, Tucker Carlson of Fox News, yesterday, we learned that the Department of Energy, you probably know about this, believes with what they described as low confidence that COVID may have leaked from a lab in China. 8 federal agencies now have weighed in with their assessments. 4 believe COVID came from natural transmission. 2 say it was a lab leak, and 2 are still undecided. In other words, We don't know. But the dingbats now see this as some kind of proof that they were right, that the virus came from a Chinese leak at a laboratory, which, by the way, it might have. The point is, we didn't know then. We still don't know now. But what we did know is that Trump and his buddies blaming the Chinese resulted in a great deal of anti-Asian American sentiment and even violence in this country.
But the thing about it, the point is that we were right. Just say it. They would not put that out there if we weren't right. They wouldn't do this low confidence. That's an escape hatch you guys want to use to just save face. They gave you guys that as way to say, oh, well, they didn't really say it all the way. Yes, they did. They would not put this out there if they didn't have confidence in it. So let's just stop playing games.
That's why it was irresponsible for the president to call it the China virus. But Tucker Carlson apparently disagrees.
This plague should never have happened. It could have been stopped. But people chose not to stop it.
What people? Tomorrow he'll blame the Spanish flu on Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. Imagine if you're a comedian and all of a sudden your cue card has all kinds of talking points from politicians and foreign governments on it. Don't read it.
Wow, that was deep. Hold on. Let's rewind that. That was deep. Hey, if you guys listening to me right now, the writers Tucker Carlson show, you guys are amazing. You guys do a great job. That was a good line. Shout out to the writers of the show. Let's play that one more time.
Yeah. Imagine if you're a comedian and all of a sudden your cue card has all kinds of talking points from politicians and foreign governments on it. Don't read it. You degrade yourself and you become complicit in the greatest crime in history.
Wow, that was deep. Now, what can Kimmel say that's going to top what Tucker just said?
Isn't that beautiful? I mean, the idea that this man would that I would be accused of reading talking points from foreign governments if it weren't so brave.
You just missed the part about your political leaders. You missed that part altogether. I see. These people are so, they make my skin itch. Make me just want to scratch. Because he totally ignored the part about your politicians. You get talking points from them, you go on TV and say it. We know that because we've seen you certain nights and you'll just repeat whatever Corinne Jean-Pierre would say the night before or the evening or the afternoon before. You go on your late night show, whatever she says, you go out there and try to make funny and fail every time.
Brazen, it would almost be funny coming from this loathsome, un-American Moscow mule.
Moscow mule. Everything is Russia, Russia, Russia. So your response to what Tucker said about you guys basically being puppets for political leaders, Russia, Moscow, Putin. Man, how unintellectual was that? That was crazy. But Tucker said that perfectly. That was fantastic. So shout out to the writers. Shout out to Tucker. That was beautifully said. Yeah, but if you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all of that good stuff. That'll help me out tremendously. Now, I'm going to do a video tomorrow, a little sneak preview. Remember I didn't do a story about this. I didn't cover it, but I've been watching this story very closely. Remember the cop in the Nashville area of Tennessee, Laverne, Tennessee, and she got involved with quite a few of her coworkers in a romantic way. And I won't say anything more because we got little kids watching. But she has sued the department. She sued them. She was groomed. That's her. Now she went on TV and did an interview. Okay. Now I'm gonna do a video about this. And the thing that I'm gonna stress to the men out here, to the men, please, whatever you do, don't fraternize at work. Don't fraternize at work. We can say that the woman was wrong. It's irrelevant. Don't fraternize at work. This could be you. Because what's happening here? What happened here is the woman got in trouble because she had a bunch of these guys that were having affairs with her or whatever. Some guys are married. She was married. So it kind of messed her career up. Same thing with the guys that were involved, messed her career up. So because she's in trouble as a result of what's happening, she's being damaged by this reputation-wise. Now I'm the victim. You guys groom me. I'm suing. Do not fraternize at work. Go anywhere else, please, man. Go to the bar, a casino, travel. Don't fraternize at work. TJ Holmes, these police officers, all these guys, just don't do it. You can say, oh, man, you know, it's consensual. I didn't do anything. See, you're arguing a point that does not even matter. It doesn't matter because if you get in trouble, it's just going to be all bad. It's going to be all bad. So don't do it. Period. But I'm going to get into that because she did an interview. It might have came on tonight. I'm not sure when it came on. That was a preview of it. It hadn't aired at that particular point when they posted that picture. But I'm going to do a video about that and see what she says because it's going to be lessons to all the guys out there, not to the women out there. To the women, it should be a lesson a little bit, but more toward the men because the men are going to be seen differently. They're going to be seen as the aggressor, even if it was something that was mutual. They're going to be seen as the aggressor. They groomed her. She's the victim. And it's going to be hard for you as a male to fight against that, especially when it's like 10 men and then one of her. Oh, you know, I was not in the right state of mind. You know, I mental problems. I suicidal. You're not going to win that debate if you're a man. You might not go to the penitentiary. You might just lose reputation in your career. So is it worth it? I think not. You might as well just play video games on your phone rather than trying to do something like that at work. Just play Pokemon Go or something like that and be safe. For real. Good grief. But I'm going to get to that probably tomorrow. And that's that. Oh, and speaking of videos, so I'm not sure what's going on with my channel. They're trying to kill like a lot of my views and stuff. It's weird. My YouTube channel is, they're trying to stifle me, but I'm trying to talk to a person now on YouTube to see if they're going to get my views and my engagement the way that they should be for my number of subscribers. I post some of the same content in other platforms and it does better. My Instagram, I get more views on the Instagram sometimes on my YouTube, and I got 1/10 of the followers on Instagram. And I put something on TikTok and that kind of went viral a little bit. But I don't really want to use TikTok, but they kind of forcing me. Anyway, I put this video up today about your man Zelensky. So Zelensky said that your sons and your daughters in the U.S. may have to go over there and fight and die, as his country has got to fight and die. Now, I'll put this on the screen right quick, and then I'll play it and I'll talk about it.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war, and they will have to fight because it's nature that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
I didn't already said it. Now, I don't got to put my reaction right here because I'm going to just react right now. So you heard what Zelensky said. Now, there's fact checkers out there already talking about, well, ABL, he didn't mean you're going to fight in Ukraine. He meant that if Russia attacks, let's say Poland, for example, and they're NATO country, we got to go send our kids to fight over there because U.S. is part of NATO, and we got to send our sons and daughters to fight as a result of that. But see, there's a couple things there. First of all, he also said that we send our sons and daughters to go fight. So Ukraine's not in NATO. So why would they send their kids to go fight a NATO battle? If Russia was to invade Poland for some reason, which they're not going to do, but if they were to invade Poland and Poland's part of NATO, why would Ukraine be involved with that? They're not part of NATO. Why would they be involved? They would be involved because he's talking about the continuation of the conflict that is right now happening between Russia and Ukraine. You see, I think the only way Russia attacks Poland is if Poland were to attack Russia, or if another country were to attack Russia directly. This is why Biden does not want to arm Ukraine with missiles that can go into Russia. Because if we give them missiles to go attack Russia and they attack Russia, like let's say the U.S. gives Ukraine missiles to attack Moscow, and Moscow's getting bombed because of what the U.S. did, now we got to fight. But we don't want to do that. And we're not going to get an attack from Russia on NATO because we know what that means. There was this scare a little while ago where they thought Russia had sent a missile into Poland, but really it was Ukraine. There was a Russian missile that it was targeting Ukraine, but then Ukraine hit it, or they were trying to hit it with a missile, but the missile missed and landed in Poland. It was a Ukrainian missile, and they were trying to make that be the spark of World War III. Ultimately, the conflict is going on right now. They want us to be involved in. The particulars of how they want us to be involved are irrelevant. My reaction is I'm not going to send myself, I'm not going to send no kids or any money to Ukraine. Whatever they got going on between Ukraine and Russia is their business. Let them fight, let them handle it. I'm not trying to get involved. Why was there no clamoring for support of Ukraine when they took Crimea in 2008 when Obama was in office? I remember that. They took, was it 08 or 17? I don't know when it was, 2014. Whenever that was, it was when Obama was in office. So why was there no talk about trying to fight the Russian Federation back then? Oh, because there was a vote and 99% of people that lived in Crimea are pretty much Russian anyway, and they wanted to be annexed to the Russian Federation. So it wasn't no point in trying to fight against it. It was just what it was. But NATO is trying to use Ukraine as a launching ground for attacks into Russia, or as a way to kind of wall Russia off. You got Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia as part of NATO, blocking or could block the Baltic Sea entrance from St. Petersburg, because St. Petersburg is like in this inlet like that. So the inlet is like this. So here's the Baltic Sea, right? Outside of the Baltic Sea, up underneath St. Petersburg, it's reversed, but you get the idea. Matter of fact, it's like this. St. Petersburg is in here. Baltic Sea is like outside of here. You got Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia right here. 3 countries that line up the border of the Baltic Sea. And then across the Baltic Sea, you got Finland. And these are all NATO countries right here. So they could just set up a naval blockade, block that, and block St. Petersburg. They also got a pipeline, Nord Stream, coming from that area, St. Petersburg, down through the Baltic to Germany. And then, of course, the U.S. blew that up. So you see what they're trying to do. They're trying to attack Russia in different ways. So they make Ukraine part of NATO, and they're trying to use Ukraine as a launching ground to attack Russia. Russia's like, yeah, you're just doing too much encroaching. Not one more inch. I can't tell. You guys are too close to our border. Now we're going to fight Ukraine. But the global elites, I suppose, are trying to make it seem like, oh, you guys want to destroy Ukraine, then go into Poland. Who was the person that went into Poland? Like, who was really trying to take over Europe more than, like, was it Russia, or was it the Germans with, you know, the funny mustache guy? Russia still has an influence over that particular region. It's just not called USSR anymore. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all of that, they're still kind of under Russian influence a little bit. They don't want to go into Western Europe. That's a BS thing from the West to try and attack Russia. But anyway, I digress. The whole point is Ukraine has plenty of money. They need, if they want to fight, they got the money. We then gave them billions of dollars would it be. We gave them billions. We're not going to give them our sons and daughters. He said sons and daughters, meaning you, young lady, talking about you want equality. All right, well, go out there with a hard hat on, go out there with some military fatigues or some boots, some sweatpants or whatever you got, and go fight and die. How about that? Come back a wounded warrior. You might get a housemate for you potentially if you get on the waiting list and make it. I think not. We're not going to do it. No. So yeah, whatever they got going on between Russia and Ukraine, let them handle it. That's not our business. You know, I don't want anybody innocent to get killed. I'm not saying people just deserve to die, whatever, but that's between them. That's not our fight to fight. Point blank, period. All right. But I will go ahead and digress. If you guys like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up, like the video, share the video, do all of that good stuff. That'll help me out tremendously. I appreciate y'all for doing that in advance. And I got more videos for you guys. I think I do. Oh, yeah. So Lori Lightfoot is out as mayor of Chicago. Now, who's going to take her place? You got Paul Vallis and what's my man's name? Johnson? Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson, I think is his name. Yeah. So Paul Vallis says some conservative talking points. He's talking about, and he was a lead vote getter, by the way, Paul Vallis. Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson are now going to go to the runoff because they didn't get 50% of the vote, if I'm not mistaken. So they got to go to the runoff to see who will actually win between them. I think Paul Vallis got the majority of the votes, but not quite 50%. The next person was Brandon Johnson, and then after him was Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot got like 17% of the vote at best. Not a very good thing for her. And she was the first Chicago mayor in the past 40 years to not win re-election as the incumbent. So people did not like the job she was doing. And Paul Vallis, the lead vote getter, ran on the whole thing about funding the police, safe neighborhoods, all this and that. That's been his whole thing that he's talking about the whole time. So we'll see. Now, the other guy, apparently, from what my man said in Chicago earlier, he's like defunding the police and basically a Lori Lightfoot lackey. So that's not who you really want in there. But we'll see. We'll see how the whole thing works. We'll see if the new person is able to be better than Lori Lightfoot. Here is a little bit of a video footage of Lightfoot back a little while ago at a parade. Vote, vote, vote. So that little dance right there in the snow did not work. People did vote, but not for her. She came in third out of the contestants. She came in third. So not a very good showing. And I think Paul Vallis will win the runoff when they have that in a while. She got quite a bit of points, brownie points, I guess, because she is a black woman and openly gay, married to a white woman. So she got points for that. Interracial relationship, LGBT, black woman. All right, so what though? Who cares about all of that? That stuff doesn't matter. What matters more? What matters more is that she did not do a very good job as mayor of Chicago. That's the most important thing that's going on here. All right. And I think that people recognize that. Shout out to the people of Chicago, first of all, because, I see in other cities, other big cities, New York City, for example, Los Angeles, they may not necessarily vote you out if you're doing a bad job. Or if you get voted out, they'll put a person in there that's the exact same as you. Or how about this? When people flee California, Illinois sometimes, New York, they go to a new place and they vote for the very same kind of person, kind of policies that they escaped in the first place. So then they're concerned. Then they're like confused. Hey, why is Austin, Texas just like California? Well, it's the same people doing the same things. Like I said before, and like others have said before, you could try to escape situations. You could try to escape environments, but no matter where you go, there you are. You're going to bring yourself with you. So unless you change, you're not going to get any change out of a situation. You see, wherever you go, there you are. It's just like if you weigh 5,000 pounds in California, which you probably won't, but if you weigh 5,000 pounds in California and you move to Texas talking about, I'm going to get a change of environment, I'm going to lose weight, but you're still 5,000 pounds a year later, is because you didn't change. Anyway, I digress. Shout out to Chicagoans for actually putting a different person in there with different political aspirations, different goals. This guy, Paul Vallis, well, he's not in there yet, but I think he will be in there. They at least got her out of the way. That's the first step. I think they'll let Paul Vallis, and he's the guy that says he wants to fund the police. He wants to have safe communities. He wants to turn things around in a positive direction. So that's needed. And we need that same kind of energy in a lot of these big cities. New York, let's go back to a Giuliani-type figure, cleaning up the city, because we're regressing. These big cities are kind of difficult to manage. You got a lot of people from all over the world in a very confined and tight space. You got issues with cleanliness. You got issues with crime, violence. It's a lot of things happening, and it's hard for people to keep up, especially when the police are not very well funded, when there's low morale. It's hard to keep up. This is part of the reason why they want to have Buckhead City in Atlanta, and I think it'll go forward. I think so. And if you guys don't know about Buckhead City in Atlanta, basically, Atlanta, let me see if let me get a map right quick, okay? Atlanta is actually a very small city. Atlanta is like the size of Nashville, actually, but probably smaller than that. But the metro area is what makes it big. All the surrounding cities, Marietta, Kennesaw, Decatur, Hampton, Georgia, Alpharetta, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, all of that. That's what makes it big. Let me see if I can pull the map up right quick. All right. And yeah, matter of fact, here's a great map, actually. No, that's not a very good map at all. Well, here it is. There we go. This will work. So this is a map of Atlanta. Now, Buckhead is this big piece up here. All right. And they want this part to be its own city. And really, they might have more. They might put Oakdale in there too. They might put a lot of this, Lenox and all that. They might put all of that as far as Buckhead. They might have all of this Rockdale, Buckhead, Lenox. They might make all this northern part be part of Buckhead City. And the reason why they want to do that is because Atlanta, they have an issue with the police, underfunded, not enough of them, and it's getting so congested in here. It's like it's becoming like New York. So congested, it's so much going on. You got all these Kia boys stealing cars, a lot of crime, random shootings from random places. It's a lot going on. So they want to make this be its own city, have their own police force, their own rules, their own way of doing business. And then that way they won't be relying so much on the police who are pretty much got their hands tied with the hood areas on the outskirts of the city center itself, Midtown, downtown, all of that got so many police that are stretched thin. They want their own force up there. So hopefully that does happen. Hopefully. Little 5 points. That's it's kind of a small map, but it's in there somewhere. It is in there somewhere. Yeah, here it is. See little 5 points? You see Home Park, Midtown. Right up on the Midtown, you get 5 points. All right. And Midtown is a weird place because Midtown, you got that's like LGBT town, but it's also thug town. It's so weird. And Buckhead's becoming like thug town too. And that's because a lot of the police, it's just not enough police presence out there. It's just not quite enough. That's really what it is. Downtown is safer than Midtown, which is crazy. But anyway, I digress. If you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up, like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff. That'll help me out tremendously. But yeah, a lot of these big cities got the same problem. They don't have the proper leadership because these areas, especially like the metro areas, it's so many people. It's hard to manage all of it. It's like managing a state, but in a small area. Very hard. Dewar Holdern says also the same as Houston, Texas, has a higher city population due to Houston annexing lots of nearby land and counties, yet has lower population density. Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we could talk about we could talk about, hold on. Dewar also says, like the size of New Orleans, which is the greater city of New Orleans, which includes the surrounding parishes, is larger than New Orleans city population. Yeah. Atlanta is like 700,000 strong, maybe. Not even that much, but the metro area is like 4.5 to 5 million. And let me see. Atlanta population, what is it right now? Actually, 496,000. It's not very big at all. Actually, look at this. Watch this. So Atlanta population, 496,000. And let's move it over there. So that's actually smaller than Nashville, which is 692,000. Atlanta is not quite 500,000 population. Charlotte is bigger than that. But obviously the metro area is what makes it bigger. Okay, let me see. Atlanta metro. Population is what? 6.1 million. All right. And it keeps growing. The traffic out there is nuts. Let me see if I can look at the metro areas ranked. Largest metro areas. Population US. Let's look at that right quick. All right. So this pretty much makes sense. Okay, check it out. You guys from all over the country. So the first area, obviously New York, 19.7 million people. Actually, that's lower than the 2020 estimate. So that's interesting. So the 2020 census says the New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, that area, the MSA, they said for 2020, the census said 20.1 million people. 2021, they say 19.76. So there's a decrease. Interesting. Same thing with LA. There's a decrease from 13 million in 2020, 13.2 in 2020 to 12.99 in 2021. Chicago, 9.6 million. And the Chicago metro area, Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, to 9.5. So there's a dip. Now, Dallas and Houston are going up. All right. Dallas for 2020, 7.6 million. 2021 estimate, 7.75 million. Houston, 7.12. And 2021, 7.2. And then after that, you have DC metro area, which is decreased a little bit. Then Philly, Camden, Wilmington, Pennsylvania. And then number 8, Atlanta. Okay, so it's pretty big. Atlanta metro area is bigger than Miami, Phoenix, Boston, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Francisco, Detroit, Seattle, Minneapolis, San Diego, Tampa. You get the picture. Bigger than Denver, obviously, Baltimore, St. Louis, etc. So that's what that is. Interesting about those areas losing population. San Fran is projected to lose 2.65% of the population in a year, if I'm not mistaken. And who else? San Jose, another one, 2.41%. The area is growing. Let me see which area is growing the most. Let me see. St. George, Utah, random places. Boise, Idaho, Punta Gorda, Florida. Myrtle Beach is growing a lot. Florida overall is growing a lot. Florida is crazy right now. Like if you're moving to Florida right now because you heard the grass is greener, well, the grass is greener, but the grass is going to be more expensive too because everybody want to go there, which is driving the price up. A lot of metro areas all over the state of Florida are just growing exponentially. They're booming. They can't really keep up with it. But anyway, let's move on here. Let's talk about your man, Scott Adams. Now, Phoenix, I've been to Phoenix a few times, sometimes friendly. Phoenix is cool. It's just hot. When it's the summertime, you can forget about it. Don't go outside in the summertime. It's way too hot. It doesn't rain. There's dust storms. It's cool. Like I like going to Phoenix when it's the wintertime because like let's say you go to Phoenix in like November, December, it'll still be pretty warm in the daytime. You can go outside and chill. It's cool. It's perfect. In the wintertime, it's perfect. You go in the summertime, it's in the heat, it's not like a tropical heat. I've experienced Miami heat and I've experienced Phoenix heat. Miami heat, it's moisture, it's humid. You go to the airport and step outside, you're wet because it's moisture in the air. It's going to rain a lot. It'll rain randomly in Miami. It's tropical. Phoenix is like you're in an oven. Have you ever? It's like being in a rotisserie, just inside of a gas station. You ever seen a chicken rotisserie in a gas, like a 7-Eleven in a little thing spinning around? That's Phoenix. It's so hot in Phoenix that they will spray water on the ground just because. Have you ever played football and you sit on the bleachers or on the bench and they got misters, like water that it'll mist you? That's how you have in Phoenix outside of restaurants. Before you go in, it's like a thing that'll just kind of mist you down a little bit so you won't be so hot. It's too hot for me. I like to visit though, but everybody has things they like. Some like the dry heat. If they got allergies, they don't have it out there in Phoenix as much. But I prefer where I live right now. I live not far from Atlanta. I live kind of like in the somewhat mountainous area. It's perfect weather for me. It doesn't really snow at all. I like it. Yeah, not really my thing. Darth Vader says, I was in Arizona for 9 years. It's 9 months of triple digits weather, and it's definitely dry heat. I've seen people pass out from the heat. It's hot. Exactly. With the sweating emoji right there, it's very hot. See, where I live, it'll get hot in the summertime, but like today, it was like 65, and tomorrow it'll be like 70. And then it might go down to like the 50s. It doesn't really get below 30s. It got cold one time this year or in the past few months during that cold snap that hit the whole country. But beyond that, you're pretty much good. All right. But anyway, I will go ahead and digress. So Scott Adams, I'll talk about that right quick. He got in trouble for some comments made about this poll that I put on the screen. He said that the poll signifies that a lot of Black Americans don't like white people. But that's not really correct, in my opinion. I think Scott Adams had his opinion already and used the poll to just support his opinion. And that's fine, but let's talk about the poll in an honest way. So here's the poll. And I think he was missing he missed the context, because there is context to that poll. So here's the poll, right? Do you agree or disagree with this statement? It's okay to be white. Now, you can see the numbers right there on the screen. This is a real thing. They surveyed 1,000 people, U.S. likely voters, conducted February 13th to the 15th, 2023 by Rasmussen. Okay. Now, out of all respondents, 58 said they strongly agree. 14% they somewhat agree. 17% said they're not sure. 6% said they disagree somewhat. And then the remaining 6% said they disagree strongly. Now, out of the white respondents, 67% they say they agree strongly. 14% say they somewhat agree. 13% say they're not sure. 5% say they disagree somewhat. And I think that's 2% right there at the end say they disagree strongly. Now, once you get to the Black, 42% say agree strongly. 11% say agree somewhat. 21% say they're unsure. 8% say disagree somewhat. And 18% say they disagree strongly. So he added disagree strongly, disagree somewhat, and a not sure to get 47%. So we said, since that many Black people think it's not okay to be white, or they don't just straight agree with it, that means that if you're white, you should just get away from Black folks. That's what he said. Now, there's a few things kind of wrong with that. First of all, there's more people in this poll. You have white, black, and other. And the other is pretty much matching the black. 42% strongly agree that are black. 43% strongly agree that are other. And once you get down to the not sure, disagree somewhat, and strongly disagree, that number right there for blacks is 47, but right here for the others, 41%. So why is this group right here totally ignored? Why is it only about the black? It's because he already was thinking about other things that are not included in this poll, like some of the black on white violence videos that are floating around Twitter and stuff like that. So now we're getting into things that are not in this poll at all. This poll is just being used as a tool for him to express how he feels. And that's okay. But let's not just be dishonest here and say, oh, well, this poll makes me think, this poll changes my mind. No, this poll just confirms what you already thought. That's what it is. That's what it is, and that's what it is. Furthermore, there's context missing. Because check it out. This phrase, remember that phrase? I covered this story when it happened. There were some posters floating around that were saying it's okay to be white back in like 2017. I think it was a 4chan type troll. And it was something that happened right during the whole Black Lives Matter peak. And people were getting triggered about it. They were getting butthurt. Oh, they said that the posters were racist. They were white supremacists. That was a big thing for a while. And as a matter of fact, there was a recent protest. Hold on. Matter of fact, hold on. There was a recent protest. Here we go. This was like the other day. People said, oh man, how they gonna remember that story from years ago? People aren't cued into the news like that. People remember that stuff. They do remember that stuff, and they're gonna act accordingly. Now check it out. Counter protesters show up to condemn "It's okay to be white" banner in Congress Square. This was before Scott Adams came out and said what he said. It's February 17th of this year. Now, several dozen people descended on the square Friday to push back on the banner that the former city council candidate Richard Ward has been displaying. All right. So this is in Portland. People remember this stuff. Now, here is some context. Here's some a little excerpt from the article. Okay, so a crowd of protesters descended on Congress Square to speak out against a small group of people displaying "It's okay to be white" banner at one of Portland's busiest intersections. About 40 people spread out at the four corners of the intersection of High and Congress streets around lunchtime Friday, holding signs that read "Stupid Racist Sign" and "Black Lives Matter," and well outnumbering the handful of people rallying behind the banner. Now, why did they get outnumbered? Why was there a big response? Because it's a big thing on the leftist side in their news media, in their politics, in their culture to talk about this whole thing about "it's okay to be white." They see that as a counter action to Black Lives Matter. So if you believe Black Lives Matter, you believe in that movement, you believe in this statement, and you see things like "all lives matter," or you see "it's okay to be white," you think it's an attack against Black Lives Matter. That's not me that believes that. I'm above all that. I think white lives matter. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be black. Black lives matter, and all lives matter. I think those phrases are all true, but I'm not a person who is going to ignore context and not like these terms aren't loaded. But anyway, people remember that kind of stuff. So you got to take that into consideration when they ask this question. It's not just, okay, is it okay to be white? It's about the actual statement, because they could link that to stuff like this, and they may not want to be seen as being racist. This is why there were so many unsure, because this is what's going on. They might not they might not dislike white people, but at the same time, they don't want to be seen as trying to attack Black Lives Matter. Does it make sense to think that way? Maybe not, but that's what they think. And right when I saw the question, I remember the whole thing about "it's okay to be white" and the signs and everything else. So that's the context. Now, Scott Adams, maybe he didn't know the context. He probably didn't because he didn't mention it. If you remember that actual thing that was going on, and it's still going on right now, because that article I showed you about the protest was in February, like 2 weeks ago. Just a few days ago that happened. So it's fresh. It started back in 2017, but it's still fresh in the minds of many right now today. Before Scott Adams said what he said about the whole poll. So I think it's unfair for him to speak out against that without giving the full context. But again, I think that he didn't know. So part of what I'm here to do is to educate. If people don't know certain things, I'm here to tell you. And it's okay. You know, one thing, the people sometimes they get prideful and they don't want to say, you know what, my fault, my mistake. I didn't know that. So I reacted without having the full information. I responded without knowing all the details. People don't want to, they're prideful. So rather than just saying, hey, I didn't know all the details, it's, well, you know what? I see all these videos online, so what I'm saying is true. You see what I'm saying? Then at that point, the poll becomes relevant. At that point, you could just say what you want to say without the poll. There's no need to use the poll to express your belief. Simple. All right. Now, let's hear what your man Scott Adams said. And of course, if you want to hear this full podcast, like I said in my video earlier, I'll link to that in the description. It's also, well, not in the description. It's on the website, anthonyblogan.com. Find the article with Scott Adams on it, and you'll be able to see kind of what's cracking. Oh, here's another poll, right? Now, here's a poll about Black Lives Matter. So, this says about 2/3 of Americans support Black Lives Matter, but views are deeply divided among partisan lines. All right. Now, we know that when you hear Black Lives Matter, we're talking about the organization. But some people, when they hear Black Lives Matter, they're hearing Black Lives Matter. They don't separate the organization, Patrice Cullors, and the grifters, the scammers, the violence. They don't separate it. They just put the phrase together. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of what they think. And they think if you say something else like all lives matter, which is true, or it's okay to be white, which is also true, they think you're trying to attack Black Lives Matter and say that you hate black people. That's a mentality. Is right or wrong? Don't matter. That's a mentality. So when you see stuff like this, it say 31% of whites strongly support Black Lives Matter and 30% somewhat support Black Lives Matter. You could say, using Scott Adams' logic, that 40%, 39% don't support Black Lives Matter. So when somebody sees that's on the other side, they would think you hate black people. It's just not true, because we know that they're talking about the actual organization. Now, that same grace should be given to the other poll, because people may think you're talking about just hating Black Lives Matter rather than actually thinking it's okay to be white. You see what I'm saying? But again, if you're going to talk about stuff like this, be fully informed. And if you're not fully informed, then get informed. That's all. That is it. That is all. People want to say, well, we know what the poll was about, what Black Lives Matter, about the organization. We know that. But not everybody is the same as us. Some people think that when you say Black Lives Matter, it's about just the phrase in itself. It's the same thing about it's okay to be white. Some think it's about the phrase itself and no context behind the phrase. It's the same thing. It's no difference. And I'm here to say that both terms can be loaded depending upon who you are and how you're viewing it. It's simple. What I'm saying is correct. I got evidence. All right. So here is what Scott Adams said. And let me see if I can pull it up right quick. And if you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff. That'll help me out tremendously. Let me just start at the right point here.
26% of blacks said no.
Hold on, let me just back up.
With a statement, and Rasmussen asked, white and black voters, and probably others, do you disagree or agree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said no. It's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white. That's like a real poll. This just happened. Did you have any idea?
So again, there were 1,000 participants in the entire poll, and out of the 1,000, I think 170, fewer than 200 were actually black. Just so you know, somebody's gonna say, "Well, it doesn't really matter. That's enough." Okay, I'm just giving you the full information.
Would you have imagined that could have happened? So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now, because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as black, so I could be on the winning team for a while.
So he's talking about this poll, and he's not mentioning the elephant in the room about the whole "it's okay to be white" thing, having a history, having context. It'd be the same thing as me talking about that Paul showed you about Black Lives Matter and refusing to mention about the history and the context behind the phrase. It doesn't just mean Black Lives Matter. It means Patrice Cullors, big large mansions, big long money, riots, defund the police. It has meaning behind it. The same thing as "it's okay to be white" has meaning behind it. People look at it as being something that's linked to white supremacists. Not saying it's right, but that's how they look at it. Linked to white supremacists. It's a counter narrative to Black Lives Matter. It is something that is offensive. It's a troll. It's 4chan. It's something that's not really meant to be taken seriously. It's just a thing to offend people. That's how they see it. So there's context behind both. These are loaded terms. So Rasmussen really was wrong to ask the question, because they asked a loaded question. And I hate stuff like that. When you ask loaded questions, I will refuse to answer, because you can't necessarily answer right for everybody. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me play my episode of Jubilee, shall we? I won't play the entire thing. I'll play just a clip of my episode of Jubilee, because I was asked a question about Black Lives Matter, and it was also loaded. All right. Let me put it up right quick for you guys. Matter of fact, I was asked two loaded questions. Actually, I was asked one about Black Lives Matter and one about LGBT rights. And I'm going to show you how I answered the question, because the questions were very specific. Well, one was specific and the other one was kind of vague. And I'm going to show you how I answered it, because I already know, think a little bit ahead of the game, that my answer will be seen differently by different people. So I got to give you the full answer. Even if I was not asked the full answer, I know people want the full answer, if that makes any sense. Let me just go ahead and play this part right here. All right, so you guys may or may not know how Jubilee works. Now, what they do on Jubilee is they give you a prompt. All right, they give you a prompt, and if you support the prompt, you step forward. If you don't, you wait for everybody to step forward to finish giving their point of view, and then you come forward to give the counter point of view, right? So here's the prompt.
I support the Black Lives Matter movement.
See, very specific question, the Black Lives Matter movement. It wasn't, do I think Black Lives Matter? But I didn't step forward right here. Even though the question was very specific, I still needed to, when I came forward afterward, not right here, but after I came forward, I had to really break down the answer to the question. This is from 2020. This is right when the pandemic first popped. This is 3 years ago, March 2020.
Well,
So everybody step forward, and then I'm going to just fast forward a little bit so you can see where I step forward. And by the way, that person right there with the white hat is a trans man, meaning that's a woman biologically. It's a biological female that took hormones and whatnot and now identifies as male. But seeing this person in person, you can tell it's still a woman. 5'2", female body type. Probably would have been a pretty girl if not for the stuff going on, but I digress.
It was the justice.
I'm just interested over
For the
So here's my answer.
I agree with the fact that Black lives do matter. I think we all agree on that. That's something that nobody's going to deny. But it's the tactics. I don't like the tactics. I mean, I saw it in 2015, the Freddie Gray situation, also with Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. You burning neighborhoods down, you're tearing things apart.
So I gave you a full answer because the question, remember, or the prompt, I support the Black Lives Matter movement. I didn't agree with that, but I had to give you my full answer that says, you know what? I think Black lives matter, sure, because I think Black lives matter, white lives matter, Puerto Rican lives matter, Kennedy Stripe lives matter, all lives matter. I think everybody's life matters. So the term is correct. However, I don't like what the organization does, the riots and the scamming and everything. I don't like that. I gave you a full answer. That's all. But I digress. That's me back in 2020, just with the clean shave. Yeah, that's me. Same glasses. Y'all already know what it is. Don't front. So I was just a boy back then. Yeah, I was just a boy, a young boy back then. Yeah. So now here's another one that I have: the LGBT rights. Okay. Here was the prompt. The prompt says the Black community should accept LGBTQ rights. That was the prompt.
Black community should accept LGBTQ plus rights.
So I did not step forward on this one, I don't think. Yeah. I did not step forward on that one. But let me just skip ahead to where I gave my answer. All right, hold on.
LGBT rights.
They're gluttoned.
All right. Now, my viewpoint on the thing about LGBT rights, what are we talking about exactly? I want to be very specific with this particular thing because when I hear that, I'm thinking about Dwayne Wade's son. He's 12 years old. Do you think a 12-year-old boy should be able to call himself transgender? Is that what we're going to do? Do we think that we should have 4- and 5-year-old children on puberty blockers, hormone blockers, because they think at that age they're transgender? You can't even get a tattoo under the age of 18. You can't smoke cigarettes. You can't drink beer.
And again, a full answer, because somebody might say, oh, if you don't support LGBTQ rights, you're a bigot. Well, what are LGBTQ rights? What are we talking? We talking about trans kids? Is that what we're talking about? Look, if you're an adult, male or female, and you do whatever you do behind closed doors with a consenting adult or adults, whatever y'all do, if you consent, and nobody's rights getting violated, that's your business, not my business. However, kids, I think not. All right, putting 5-year-olds on puberty blockers, I think not. We're not going to do that. Let's not have that be part of LGBTQ rights. You see, loaded questions need full and complete answers to get down to the bottom of it. Scott Adams just used the poll with a loaded question to express how he already felt. And that's really what it was, because on Twitter I was asking the same thing. People were saying, well, and I asked the question, well, the poll has blacks. And let me go back to the poll. The poll has blacks and others pretty much having the same opinion about the statement it's okay to be white. 41% of others said the same thing that blacks said at 47%. So it's about the same thing. So why is the focus on blacks? And then the truth came out. Well, I see all these videos floating around the black on white violence. I'm like, okay, that's what it is. It's about the black on white violence videos. You're using this to say how you feel. Don't do that. Just say how you feel and don't be a coward with it. If you feel that way, cool. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the violence and the crime. Great. But just say it up front rather than trying to use that poll, which is obviously flawed because you got a small sample size, and a loaded question. But I digress. I'm getting triggered. Yeah. Like my whole thing about cigarettes and beer, you can't even get a tattoo under 18, but you can get a whole sex change. You can call yourself Zaya rather than Zion. Dumb stuff. And back then, in that video 3 years ago, Dwayne Wade's boy was 12 years old, talking about I'm transgender. I'm against that. I don't care. If you get to be 18, you do what you want. Matter of fact, the trans person that was right there in that Jubilee segment said that his parents, her parents, or whatever the gender is, said when you turn 18, you do what you want. I said the same thing his parents said. So what's up? All right. But that'll be a wrap for that particular topic. If you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff. I got super chats on deck, and then we're going to get to the calls. The number to call is 434-658-1220. Again, 434-658-1220. Let me get to make sure I have all the super chats in order, and then we will just get right on rocking. Thank y'all again for being here. Couldn't do the show without you. And let's make sure we're on the right page. All right. Thank you to Nick Corio, who says the comments today from Zelensky were nuts. Oh, yes, they were. Totally nuts. Thank you for that. Thank you to Haley Hunter for your first super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you to Dutch Schaefer, who says, hey, ABL, what's your opinion on why the media was so quick to, quote, debunk the lab leak theory? I mean, within the month of the pandemic, they're ruling out it was created in a lab. To me, that told me all I need to know. Well, because they didn't want to offend China. That's all. They didn't want to offend China. So that's why they kept it on the wraps. But at a certain point, it's like, man, come on. Like, we understand what happened. It didn't make any sense talking about, oh, somebody ate a bat at a wet market. It's like, really? So a foodborne illness became a genetically engineered version of the common cold that killed all people around the world. I mean, come on, be for real. It make no sense. But anyway, they probably just had people on the inside that could not contain themselves anymore, and they had to release that. Thank you to Carlos Gaspar for the Cup of Joe emoji donation. Thank you to F Ranger Xbox, who says, I have LawY86 and Serpent ZA for over 10 years. Subscribe to them. Thank you for that. Thank you to JD, who says, everyone start replacing lab leak with lab release. They want you to think that it was a leak. Good job as always, ABL. Hey, good point. Thank you to Buck versus Windshoot, who says, to help stop Big Pharma from controlling big media, we should revoke their ability to advertise like in the 70s. Maybe, just maybe, media would do honest reporting then. Well, that's definitely an option. Thank you to M.M. Martin, who says, nobody wants to see their neighborhood get ghetto. And also, he says, it's not my fault that you're black. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, I love being black. I'm not sure what color you are, but it's all good. If you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all of that good stuff. That'll help me out tremendously. Let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. The number to call is 434-658-1220. Again, 434-658-1220. There's also an email for Skype in the description, so you could call that and get on that way. 954, you're on line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, man. How you doing?
It's all good, man. What's happening?
I'm getting echo.
You good. You good. Go ahead.
So what's your intro to Scott Adams?
You said what now?
Where did you get introduced to Scott Adams?
Dilbert.
Okay, I didn't even know that. My intro to him was he was pushing the vax really hard.
Yeah,
really hard. Where people were calling him Clot Adams.
Clot Adams is hilarious.
Yeah, that was my intro to him. They were calling him Clot Adams. So he was really mad that people weren't getting on board with him, and they were extending the scandemic, the pandemic.
Right.
The pandemic.
I got you.
They were, Yeah, people were extending the pandemic. Sorry about that. Because they weren't on board with him, because he knew, he knew what was best, and people weren't doing what he knew was best. So he was really mad that people weren't doing that. And then he had an epiphany at some point and decided he had exposed himself to maybe some vax injuries. Mm-hmm. So he got really mad about that. He went from pushing it to admitting that maybe he got scammed with the pandemic. He got, he took this thing he probably shouldn't have taken. So he got really mad that he didn't figure that out, but other people had. Anyway, so he's got this long history of being angry, right? So he's mad that people didn't get on board with him initially, and then he was mad that people saw that he was doing something that he got scammed into doing. So this latest thing that he is doing now, I mean, what are your feelings on? I've heard all your feelings on. I'm sorry, I listened to your video today, but his whole thing was what I noticed back in the 2020 BLM riots. People used that situation to say that they were angry at a certain population of people, and they were using that as an excuse for their racism, right?
Yeah.
Am I making any sense? That like they were look at this action that this group of people are doing, and that's why I'm racist now.
Yeah, I mean,
I see these people doing this thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think Scott Adams, he just wanted to say some things on his chest and then use the poll as a reason to do it. That's all. And my thing my thing is, look, if you want to say stuff like that, then just say it. Don't try to hide behind the poll and say that's the reason why you want to say it. Just be honest and say what's going on. We can have a real discussion. But I don't like when guys try to do stuff like that. Just be more upfront with yourself. Don't be so passive like that.
Exactly. And if you want to be that way, then be that way. And I support your right to be that way. You have the right to say what you want to say. I support that. I don't have to agree with it.
Exactly.
But don't use I'm gonna see some people rioting, doing some mostly peaceful protests, and that's gonna be my excuse to take it out on 40 million Americans.
Right. Exactly.
Like I tell my son all the time, life is 1% what happens to you and 99% how you react to it. So if you're gonna see one thing and use that as justification for your actions, I don't agree with that. You are your own person. He used a poll with 1,000 people, and someone said it in your comments, and you said it on the live stream tonight. He ignored all the other demographics in that poll and only focused on 160, 170 people. And he's going to extrapolate that and attach it to 40 million people in the population.
Right.
He was that way before. He's using the poll to justify his feelings that he already had.
You got it.
Hey, ABL, you guys are looking at some bad weather tonight in your area and tomorrow. Be safe, man.
Will do, man. Thank you for your call. Definitely appreciate you.
I'll keep listening to you. Be safe. Peace.
Thank you. All right. Shout out to my man for the call. Most certainly appreciate him. Let's go to some more here. 859, you're on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, ABL, how's it going? I'm happy to be on again.
Right on, man. What's happening?
All right. Hey, there's something I gotta say, and I'm just saying this. I think the far left, the modern day far left, is far worse than the old school far left, like the USSR. And the reason why I say this, I really bumped into a legit communist who I asked him one day. I said, "Look, if you got somebody from the USSR back in post World War II, and get him to meet up with somebody who is a modern day leftist, do you think they would have some common ground, or do you think they would get along, or what?" No, they would hate each other. Because get this, while the USSR back in the day, they were just blue collar people who worked in factories. Yes, they lived under a dictatorship, but it took care of them. The modern day left, they're trying to control every aspect of everybody's life. They're far worse. They're trying to change they're trying to lower the body count of everybody, full control, take away guns, take away human rights, human freedom of speeches, anything, you name it. So that's why I'm saying that. What do you think? What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right about that. Yeah, and people today don't have the same issues that people had in previous times. You know, like some real world things. Like
the USSR originally came from out of like fighting against the monarchy, just like the founding fathers were fighting against the queen. but they went in a different route. Ultimately, the USSR kind of fell in the 1980s, so we lasted longer.
Right, exactly.
Comparison. And the one thing that makes me embarrassed to be an American is Joe Biden not going out to Ohio over there to this guy's our president. We voted for this guy in. Why is he not even doing his job? The ex-president is doing his job and showing up to Ohio after that disaster.
Right. Yeah, that's terrible. That's pretty bad. And he said he won't even go. So there's no even desire to go over there. It's pretty bad.
Still, if you're the president of the United States, it's your responsibility. It's your job. Even if the whole county voted against you, you're the president-elect. It's your responsibility to give out your resources to help your country out. We're too busy helping Ukraine out. It's ridiculous.
Right. I agree.
And Trump went out of his way, like him or hate him. There's some things I like about him, some things I don't like about him. He went out of his way, even though he's not the president of the United States, and gave them water, gave them resources that our president did not. That's insane, man. I love watching your show, bro.
Thank you for your call, man. Definitely appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. And I just took edible, so I'm feeling it.
I got you, man. Thank you for your call.
Good, man. You too, bro.
All righty. Shout out to the caller. Let's go some more here. 918, you're on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, what's up, baby? Yo, it's JB Scottsburn from Oklahoma. How you doing, buddy?
It's all good, man. What's happening?
Hey, there's a lot happening, man. There's a lot happening. But, when I called in, I got a list of my stuff, and I want to keep it down to one thing on my list. Okay. First of all, China. China should be the number one topic right now. Okay. Because, like I said, I watched your video about the whole Wuhan virus. Yeah, right. We all knew it. We all knew it was. It frustrates me. It really does frustrate me, because we all knew it came from the lab, and we knew it didn't come from some random dude eating a batch, outside. Yeah, we all knew. Okay, I'll tell you what. I don't know. I watch The Five on Fox News. I watch The Five and I watch Greg Upload. And on the 5, Judge Janine Pirro, who I love, she's an amazing woman. She said 3 things, and they made perfect points. Because this was not just a leak or an accident. It came out of the lab or whatever. No, this was a weapon. Okay. And there were 3 ways, because there's one of the greatest quotes I've ever said over my time in my life was, if China wants to take over the United States, they will do it without ever firing a shot. And that is exactly what's happening right now. They're doing it politically. So, first of all, politically, installing spies in our government, with, whatever his name is, Eric Fartwell, and his girlfriend, same thing, yeah.
Eric Swalwell.
Still around. Yeah. Yeah, Swalwell, though. We call him Fartwell. Yeah. Either way, yeah, he's giving out all his secrets to his little Chinese girlfriend. And then we got, Dianne Feinstein, San Francisco, who had a Chinese spy as her driver for 20 plus years. And who else do we know about? I mean, who else is there out there that's just stealing our intelligence? Okay, point number 2. Okay, that was politically. Then you go socially. And you go to all these idiots on TikTok that are just going on there, like all these nurses dancing, and I don't care about any of that crap. You know what they're doing? They're putting all their information out there for the whole world to see, for China to see, their addresses, their phone numbers, their emails. They deserve what they're getting. And then you've got, so we got, what do we got? We got socially, we got politically, then we got the final group that is publicly. Yeah. So with this whole China virus, they kept our kids out of schools. They kept people from working. They made everyone stupid. And they made them act like idiots on the internet. And they never fired a single shot at it.
Right on.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave it at that. And Zelensky talking about having our kids, our young men and women fight against Russia. Get the hell out of here. You SOB. Yeah. That ain't happening. That is not happening. Yeah. Now, you go ask Joe Biden and Hunter and all his boys, yeah, you want help with that? Yeah, go ask them. Go get money from them.
Right on, man. Well, I got a few more calls we're going to get to on the line, man. Thank you for your calls always. Definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, I know. I kind of went off tonight. I'm sorry, buddy.
It's all good, man. Appreciate you.
All right, man. All right, you have a good night, dude.
Same to you. All right, shout out to my man for the call. Most certainly appreciate him. Let's go to 773 on the line. We're speaking to
ABL, it's your retired Chicago police officer friend. First, I'd like to start off with a compliment here, ABL, for you. I was really impressed with that Jubilee appearance. You always make a well thought out, logical, and practical argument. And that's really what it is. You leave it logical and practical, and people can't argue with you about that then. They just, it stops them in their tracks. We've seen that with Ocasio-Cortez when the head of the Border Patrol was explaining there is a process for illegal aliens to request asylum. It's do it the lawful way, and she was made mute out of that. But I wanted to say a couple of things. One about the vehicle technology. That technology is already here in newer cars, regular gasoline, but newer cars. GPS, OnStar, XM radio. We as the police used all of that to locate your car. Because if your car has GPS in it to tell you where you're at in the city or in the country, it can be reversed and used against you. And we have done that. The police have requested, through OnStar. As a matter of fact, there was a incident that I was involved in. Mostly it was the state police to handle it because it was on an expressway. But someone's car was carjacked by two guys. OnStar was following the car. Once the state police, because it was on the expressway in the city, once the state police got behind the car, OnStar shut off the car. Those two guys jump out and they run across a crowded expressway that the speed limit's 55 miles an hour, and one guy got hit by a truck and killed. We were on the scene to help with traffic and all that, but the state police handled that death. Then, of course, there's the lawsuit. The lawsuit that says that OnStar stopped the car in a dangerous place and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, the technology is already there, ABL. And even in a city like Chicago, we have license plate readers around the city. And we have watched these stolen, carjacked cars as they get on the expressway, go 5 miles west, then come on back, move all around on the expressway and get off into the neighborhoods of the city. And then, like clockwork, here's an armed robbery, there's an armed robbery, here's another armed robbery. This is what they do. They take on a Saturday night, they'll carjack a car. They run around and roam around the city very quickly, robbing people at gunpoint that are on the street. They're going to bars or wherever they're going. And they rob these people very quickly, 5, 6, 7 of them. Then they dump the car and they're in the wind. And that's it. So that's one of the crimes that are pervasive in the inner city. And then my last thing here, ABL, is about Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Her mortal sin, so to speak, was not to protect the downtown area where the tourist money is made. Once you gave up because here's the thing, most people around the country will visit Chicago, but they're not going to visit the ghetto, unless you have family there. They're even not going to visit the nicer neighborhoods. Mostly they're going to be downtown, the Art Institute where you can see a Picasso, the parks, the lakefront, there's plays. Once you give up the downtown area and make that dangerous, you have done a real disservice to the city. And here's the thing, ABL, I was born in Chicago. My parents were born in Chicago. My grandmother was born in Chicago in 1907. Her parents were here in the 1800s. I know Chicago. I understand Chicago. And I also understand that there's corruption. There's a history of corruption, and that corruption, is pervasive and is passed on. It's changed. It morphs into different corruption, but it's there. But the thing is, regardless of that, you have to do certain things. Once you get a reputation around the world and, around the country, and you've changed the psyche of people about your city. For instance, Detroit. Once industry was lost, Detroit became very dangerous and everything else. A city like Chicago, once you lose, industry and the trust of the people around the world and around the country, then what happens? Well, we don't want to be headquartered in Chicago. We don't want to have the plumbers convention in Chicago. We don't want to, people don't want to go downtown to plays. You're not going to see, Broadway type plays in my neighborhood. You're going to see it downtown. You cannot, you have to protect downtown. And that's something that she did not do. She allowed the downtown area. And no matter what mayor you had, all the dailies and everybody else, they knew to protect the tourist area. And she failed in that. Besides the pervasive crime in the neighborhoods of Chicago, besides that. And once you do that, and it's the same thing, once you change the psyche of the police in people's eyes, then you've changed that forever. It's very hard to come back from that and to convince people. I was well liked on the streets, but you have a few policemen that change people's image of you, and it gives everybody a black eye. It is the same. One mistake gives the entire police force a black eye. This mistake with our mayor has given the city of Chicago a black eye. I've met people from all over the world when I was doing the stuff downtown and as the police. And, Chicago, the people in Europe and everywhere else is still, Al Capone. Yeah, I know Chicago, Al Capone. That was in 1929, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So you see how this attitude changes people. Now Chicago is viewed as violent, which it is right now, and it'll be hard to recover from that. And that's why even her own people voted her out. And that's what happened. So, that's my 2 cents or $3 or whatever it is, ABL. Always a great show. Hello to everybody in chat, and thanks for listening to me this week again. Talk to you later.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It was in 1920.
All right. Great call as always. Fantastic call. Yeah. Lloyd Lightfoot not protecting that downtown. That's going to be a problem. That's like your economy center. It's going to be an issue. 770, you're online. My speaker too.
Hey, how's it going, ABL? It's Ansel.
All right, man. What's going on?
It's going all right. Hey, I just wanted to talk to you about a couple of things about this Scott Adams situation and also about Lori Lightfoot. And concerning Scott Adams, you see, I grew up in the suburbs of St. Louis, and I always went to integrated schools where it was like 50% black and 50% white. And, like all of us, we got along. We really didn't intermingle, like in after school activities. But at school or if we saw each other on the streets, we all got along. But, and me being black, we got along with the white folks. But when I got around inner city blacks where they had never gone to school with white people or they had very limited contact with white people, they hated white people. They would say things about white people that was, just crazy stuff. And so what I'm saying is, when it comes to Scott Adams, I from my own experience, there's a large percentage of black people, urban black people, who can't stand white people. They can't stand Asian people. They don't know if the person is Korean or Chinese or Japanese. They just put all of them in the same box where they just hated Asians. Did you ever experience that?
Not really. You see, when I was in school, when I was in the hood schools, everybody was black. So it wasn't really this whole thing about hating other races because everybody's the same. Now, what I experienced when I was younger was you would get hated if you were a nerd or if you just didn't fit in, if you might have been gay or something like that. That's how you get hated on. Or it could be anything. It could be over the smallest of things. People would get into fights over nothing, at the more hood schools. That's kind of what happened.
Well, I guess maybe because I'm a lot older than you, but like when I got around the urban black people, they would say stuff like, I don't know if you ever heard this. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but they would say like the stuff like, well, when white people's hair gets wet, they smell like dogs.
Oh, yeah. I heard
and I would be like, what are y'all talking about? Because, like, we used to have swimming classes at our high school, and, you take a shower, like, what are y'all talking about? They smell like dogs.
Yeah,
but
I heard that kind of stuff, but I think that's not really that serious because everybody got joked on. Like, I don't know, like in Virginia, that's all we did was joke on each other, white, black, whatever.
No.
Everybody got joked on. Like, it wasn't even really. I would hear that about the whole wet dog thing, but I would hear words from black to black. Go ahead.
ABL, but what I'm saying, these people weren't joking. They really believe that.
I mean, but I'm saying, like, but my point is that we would say offensive things. We would say more offensive things to each other, black to black, more than black to white. I see where you're coming from, but from my point of view, I come from like 100% black areas for the most part until I got to high school. Until I turned 14, my schools were 80-90% black. And the white people that were there, it wasn't, they were kind of like, just like us, they were black too. So it wasn't that kind of thing. And then when I got to high school, it was still majority black. I heard the whole wet dog thing, but we were all kind of joke on each other, black and white. And maybe it was different back in the day, but when like in like 99, 98, 2000, it wasn't quite the same. It was like everybody kind of joked on and said offensive things to everybody.
Well, like everybody in this country, we all have our different personal experiences. But I'm just saying, like, my own personal experiences, some of the most racist people I ever met were other black people. And now I want to talk about, I want to talk about Lori Lightfoot and her election loss. I listened to WVON, which is supposed to be like the Black Talk of Chicago radio. I just wanted to hear what they were going to talk about after her election loss. And they had like a panel up there discussing it. And one of the major complaints of the panel was that there were too many black people in the race who were running against her, and that they diluted the vote. They split the black vote, which kept her from, qualifying for the reelection runoff, and that the other black people shouldn't have done that. But basically, this is what I'm trying to say. They weren't even this panel was not even discussing her policies or her opponent's policies. The only thing they were discussing was black and white. We lost a black mayor. And I was like, what are y'all? You're not even discussing policies of your opponent. You're just mad because the front runner isn't black. And just in my opinion, if that's the way you're going to vote, you will always lose. If you base your vote on race as opposed to policy, that's how you end up with the Chicago. All right, ABL, I'll talk to you later. You have a good evening.
Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, shout out to my man for calling. I see what he's talking about. Like, I see you guys in the comments saying, oh, they're dead serious. Like, I don't know. Virginia was just different. Like, maybe where you guys were, I think it was just different because everybody said offensive things. Everybody, black, white, everybody. But when I was younger, though, like I said, up until 14, I went to all black schools. So I didn't. If you're black, you're going to hear some stuff and people are going to be serious. Like the whole dark skin, light skin thing. See, if you're not from a black area, you probably never even heard about what I'm going to say about the African booty. Have you ever been called an African booty scratcher? I've been called that. I got called that when I got to high school because I'm dark skinned. But when I was younger and everybody's black, that was never a thing because when I'll put it to you this way, when I was a kid, up until, like I say, about 14, it was rare to see a light skinned person let alone a white person or any other race. Everybody was dark skinned. Everybody. So once high school come around, now you got light skinned people, dark skinned people, white, Asian, Filipino, Mexican, Arab, everything. So now everybody is like all the different races come together, and it wasn't like racial tension necessarily. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically a lot of the same culture of the offensive comments from black to black continue with other races kind of joining in on each other. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Let's go to 972. You don't learn how much speaker to.
Hey, Mr. ABL. This is Daryl here. It's Unified TV. What's going on?
It's all good, man. What's happening?
Enjoying the show as always, man. Enjoying the show as always. I just want to thank you, man, because I always talk about how much you're an inspiration for me and why I continue to post what I post and how I post it. Just once again, wanting to thank you for being that number one media inspiration for me to keep doing what I do, changing up how I do it, trying to improve on how I do it, because you've been doing this a long time. But I even see you tweaking and adding and changing up certain things to do it better, and that's commendable, because you see how you can always step it up, and that's a humble person. So, but I wanted to ask you, I made a video about the crap they said on The View about, well, we need more black owners in football, and they were talking about, now we found out that black quarterbacks can win big games. It's like, have you forgotten about McNabb, Michael Vick, all these other black quarterbacks that came before them? They said now people know that black quarterbacks can win. I don't know if you saw that, but the only part that I responded to was where they said we need more black owners. So I kind of went off. I'm sitting there thinking there's plenty of black millionaires and billionaires who could, if they wanted to, throw their hat in the ring to try to own an NFL team. So if they wanted to, I understand there's like certain things you have to do to get to that point of owning a team. But I personally, I could be wrong about this, don't think that they're holding black people back from owning a football team. Because why? Like, why would they do that? If they are, it'll be a very big surprise to me. But I just thought it was disgusting how they couldn't just live in the moment. And, they wanted to make this big old thing about two black quarterbacks going against each other. This is historic. Why couldn't you just live in that moment if you're about your people, as opposed to looking for more like, well, we got that, but now we need this. So it's like, it's never enough for certain woke black people to appreciate the achievements that they claim that they can never get to. So now that they get there, they want more, and it's not enough. Like, it just kind of gets on my nerves. So I don't know if you saw that video I made. If you get a chance to check it out, let me know. But it just bothers me how black people never seem to be satisfied. They claim oppression, but the same celebrities that they look up to are millionaires and billionaires. So why can't you look at them as an example of how to rise above the oppression? But that's not enough. So I just wanted your opinion on that. And once again, thank you for doing what you do, being who you are, man. And God bless you. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you for the call, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, the whole thing about that is it's just like, some people that are really obsessed over race is never enough. It's never, ever enough. It's just, it's always going to be the next thing. And it's like, this is what I think somebody might have said it. It might have been, I forget who this was. It said, might have been Booker T. Washington or somebody that was saying that the race hustlers, and I'm not quoting this properly, but y'all know the quote. Race hustlers don't want the problem to be fixed because there'd be no more job for them. They want to keep the problem going so they're able to continue having a job. It's simple. 760, you're on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, ABL, this is Chris.
All righty, what's happening?
Not a whole lot. I just wanted to call in and talk about my position on the phrase, it's okay to be white.
All righty.
Yeah, so my position is, I'm a little nervous, and I've been rehearsing this, so you have to begin here. Let me catch my breath. So my position is that the phrase is actually Marxism, and I'll explain why it's Marxism, right? So in Marxism, there's this idea that's called dialectical materialism, right? And an oversimplification of that idea or that word is they assign different meanings to a group of words. So, for example, the harmless phrase "it's okay to be white" in practice has triggered a leftist liberal Marxism. They have assigned that group of words as being associated, without providing any evidence, to white supremacist groups, right? So that's my position on the phrase "it's okay to be white." It's in practice Marxism.
Man, it makes sense to me. I definitely see where you're coming from for sure.
And I just wanted to give some other examples too, just to fortify my idea here. So some words that can help people here, to oversimplify things and see what the meanings are. One of the words, capitalism, it means money. Socialism, it's free stuff. Clothes, Medicare is free stuff, right? Marxism, what does Marxism look like in practice? One of the tenets is assigning different meanings to words. So, I was taken back by people not calling this out for what it is right away. People saying that it's lacking context, not enough context, but why hasn't anyone called this out for what it truly is, which is far left ideology, Marxism?
Yeah, people, they're not going to think that deeply. They're just going to kind of see things for face value.
Do you agree that I'm not sure how well read you are into it, but do you agree with my position here or no?
I think what you're saying makes sense. I think I'm going to still stick to what I said in the beginning, but I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Like, okay. I think people just, they see things on face value and they want to comment on it, but I do see your angle where you're coming from. It makes a lot of sense.
And then I also want to point out that you gave a great example the other day. You gave a conspiracy theory, right? You said, which one's more plausible? You said, did the coronavirus come from a bat or a pangolin, someone eating them, or do you think it's more plausible that it came from a lab, that it got released intentionally or inadvertently through a lab, and it's almost common sense which one it is. And for me here, I'm going to take that same one and present this idea to you here. So I did a little bit of reading on the term "it's okay to be white," and I found out that it originated in a 4chan discussion board, right? So here's my conspiracy theory. Put your tinfoil hat on. Here it comes. You have a bunch of conservative journalists, and you have a bunch of liberal journalists in here hashing it out on this discussion board. And the conservative realizes that he's talking to a white-hating, white liberal Marxist, right? So whites that hate other whites, right? And he realized that he's talking to that person, and he used the one phrase that he knows that's going to damage that person or hurt that person most, which is "it's okay to be white," right? Instantly triggered. And the white-hating, white liberal Marxist then says, you know what? I'm going to use tenets of Marxism. I'm going to take this word, I'm going to re-engineer it, and I'm going to put everyone at odds with it. So that's what I believe is going on here.
Makes a lot of sense. And, that would kind of point to why there would be a poll from Rasmussen, because it's like, what's the point of doing that poll right now? Why? Makes a lot of sense. What you said right there is just to kind of create what's happening right now, which is, division and conflict.
Yeah. And just to double down on this, there was a movie a long time ago, one of my favorites. It's called "Don't Be a Menace in South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood." And in there, Bernie Mac, posthumously, if I'm using that correctly, and famously, was playing a cop, and he pulled a car over, and he said, "I hate my gums because they black," right? So I'm just using this example to double down on white-hating, white liberal Marxists, right? So that's what's going on here. And I wish that when people see groups of words that are arranged like this, that they call it out for what it is right there on face value. It's Marxism. This is far left ideology, and I don't want anything to do with it. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you for your call, man. Definitely appreciate you.
Thanks, Ariel.
That's a great call. Made a lot of sense to me. Yeah, I definitely see what he's saying. That's what I mean. That would explain why there'd be a poll from Rasmussen. It's like, why would you put that out right now? Makes a lot of sense what he said. 209, you're online. Who am I speaking to?
ABL.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man. Thank you for taking my call. Now, I got a thing to say about, the whole racism thing, right? I'm out here in the Bay Area in California, And, growing up out here, I'm 44 years old. And, back in the day, we didn't have racism, when we were growing up as kids out here. But as, I'm noticing as time goes on, I mean, with the politics and everything else, it is getting more, because I'm back and forth. I live in Oakland, San Jose. So it's like, I mean, there's a demographic out here, and it's like, there is a lot of racism going on now because of the politics, and because of the politics, I mean, it's just obvious. It's obvious to see what is going on here. The Democrats are trying to, they're just using the same old technology of divide and conquer, right? You hearing me?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Yeah, divide and conquer. I mean, back in the day, remember back in the day, like in the 80s, it was like, you didn't have this racism back in the, when I was a kid in the 80s, we didn't have the racism. Everybody was everywhere. Everybody had a good time. In the 90s, growing up as a teenager, we had good times. It didn't matter, and it's very frustrating. It's just very frustrating, a frustrating thing to see that racism is coming back. I mean, we weren't suffering from racism as a 40, I'm 44 years old, Now I can see this happening to people that were 60, 70 years old, they saw the whole racism thing, they saw the riots and all that stuff. Old school crap, right? Yeah. For people that are 44, 45 years old, I mean, we're in our, what would you call a 44-year-old person anymore? A prime age? I don't know. Right? Why are we seeing this crap come back, Because we let the overlords come about to try to divide and conquer us. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on.
Am I wrong?
Nah, you're on point. I'm hearing what you're saying 100%.
It's all bad. We need to stand up. We need to, I'm saying this, we need to all get together. If we were all together, if we're all tight, then they wouldn't be able to impose all these ridiculous laws and stupid. We would just oust them out. But now they got us all separated. Yeah, much easier to control people when they're separated. Then you only have to deal with segments, right? And that's exactly what they want. Yeah. So anyway, that's the point I wanted to make. And hey, man, thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for the call, man. Appreciate you.
Right on.
All right, shout out to the caller. Great call. And let's get to some more calls here. The phone lines are blowing up. Y'all please hang tight. 415, you're on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, ABL. This is Linda from the Bay Area. Your last caller was also from the Bay Area.
Right on.
And, I just had to call in because I heard him say there was no racism in the 80s. And it's like, I don't know if that's been my experience, but lots of people my age would say, like, no, I mean, racism, it has shaped us as, for a long time in humanity, I would say. My experience here in the Bay Area, just responding to this conversation about Scott Adams, I was really taken aback. I've been listening to Scott Adams for a while now. I was taken aback at first by his statements, and going back and listening to it and opening my mind a little bit and listening to what other people have to say about it, I suppose I can see where he's coming from, and I wanted to sort of sprinkle in a little experience.
Okay.
There was a nonprofit that I worked for a number of years ago run by some white women, and I was one of the white women in there helping to raise money. And the object of this nonprofit based in Oakland was to teach some kids some programming skills. This was an after-school program, and it was really successful. And they decided to name the nonprofit Hack the Hood, and they had that name sort of proudly on all their merch. And I was wearing a Hack the Hood sweatshirt one day, doing some grocery shopping, and a black woman asked me, "What is Hack the Hood?" And I explained to her what we do, what we did, what the nonprofit did. And she said, I wish I could remember exactly how she put it, but she basically said, "You don't know anything about the hood, and you don't belong in the hood. You don't belong in there to fix anything. You shouldn't be messing around with this." And I was like, that really hit me. And I really had to step back and think about that. And since then, that nonprofit, it's different now. I think it's run by some different folks. And another nonprofit run by some white women, mission for, I guess on the surface, for helping who they thought needed help. That nonprofit also has crumbled under the examination that, like, I guess the criticism that white folks shouldn't be getting themselves involved with helping Black communities. And it was heartbreaking, but also I think that it kind of rang true in a strange way. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. From the inside, it was hard. It was confusing.
So your experience at the nonprofit, how was it overall?
Frustrating. And I could see that also there was a problem of having to continuously prove that the problem was getting bigger and bigger. That's what a lot of nonprofits have to do. They have to prove year after year that there's actually a bigger problem every year. Otherwise, they lose their funding.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go and they would say, "Oh, there's this growing number of kids that are scoring worse and worse," or "There's this growing wage gap," or "There's this growing need, and we need more and more money from you, government, or you, corporate donors, or you, private donors." And so it was like a problem that could never be solved. At least that's what it looked like from the fundraising standpoint. We can't ever solve this problem. And then from the other point, the criticism point of like, well, maybe you don't even have the solution, And that criticism was specifically about, like this idea of, because you are white, you will not be able to solve this problem. And that was also, I could see like that. Well, there's a point there, perhaps, but I like to think that it doesn't matter what color anybody's skin is. If they want to help, if they want to be involved with any kind of, program, anyone should be involved with anything that they want, that they feel excited about or drawn to, or that where they have a skill or a talent. But hearing that criticism over and over again it's like if you hear it, a certain number of times, that you begin to think maybe there's something to it.
Well, I mean, at a certain point, if you're trying to solve problems, that means there is a problem and people are going to have different points of view about how to fix it. So you're going to get criticized because people on the outside may think that you're not doing the right thing to solve the problem. Like I've been around nonprofits and stuff like that, and they get those kind of criticisms. Like a good place to start would be Blexit, Kenneth Owens' organization. I've been around them, and I go to some of their events, and I've heard people talk about them. Oh, you guys can't fix anything. What's the point of you being here? There are white people associated with Blexit, and they get criticized. But ultimately, if there's a problem, inherently there's going to be people that come to you in a negative way because there's a negative thing that you're trying to solve. So there's going to be problems baked into it. So I think that's just part of the experience. But as far as, you know, people coming up to you, criticizing you because of your race, I mean, you can't let that really stop you from trying to solve the issue or trying to make an impact in the situation. It's not going to be something that's just so easy. You could just go in there and just, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to be some challenges. So that's my view about that. Being around other nonprofits, I kind of see some of the same things you may have seen, but I understand it's going to be a difficult process because you have a difficult problem you're trying to tackle from the beginning.
I love that perspective. Thank you. Can I add one more thing that made me step away from grant writing specifically for like women's groups?
Go for it.
There was this, like I said, this growing need to prove that there's this wage gap. And they put a whole pile of research down in front of me, and they were like, write us a grant, you know, to show that the wage gap between men and women, you know, is still this crazy gap. And I was poring over this research and looking at old published, you know, very, very good research that was showing that no, in fact, you know, the short story is like, no, there is no wage gap when you take into account the number of years of experience, how many hours everyone puts in, how many raises somebody asks for or are eligible for, how many extra hours somebody will go for, how many, you know, how much other supervisory experience folks have. And just by nature of taking time off to have kids, taking time off for a number of reasons that, you know, number by number, when they did this really thorough research. And I'm sure that there's variables out there. I'm sure that there are some things that are different out there, but it was a complete game changer for me on the inside. And being asked to fudge the numbers or make up different numbers to continue to write grants and say, you know, look, here's this problem, here's our data, and ignore the data. I walked away completely from that, and I'm glad I did. So I just wanted to share that was the beginning of my, I guess, opening up of my own eyes. And I'm grateful to you. This is a great show, great content. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thanks
call.
For everything.
Definitely appreciate you.
You too.
All right, great call. Fantastic call. 860, you know, line, who am I speaking to?
Hey, ABL, it's F&A Ranger X-Boss. How you doing, brother?
It's all good, man. What's happening?
The gentleman you were talking about with Laoway 86, that's Serpent Zeta. That's Serpent with a Z-A. He's from South Africa. Happens to be a white guy. He had to get out of South Africa because it was getting too dangerous. And on the racist thing, when the blacks took over South Africa and they started killing the white farmers, I just want everybody out there to know that Russia took in over 15,000 South African white farmers. But that's just a little side note there. Racism, it was alive. It wasn't so alive in the 80s because I was out in the country down in Florida, and all the black people that were working cattle ranches and stuff were rednecks, and they were pretty cool. Here's what my childhood was like. I went to Hawaii and got my butt kicked by the Japanese Asian kids for being a Holly from the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And that settled down after a while when I got back into a military dependent school because my dad was in the Navy. Well, in 1970, he retired and had to move back to the center of his universe, Indiana. Woohoo! And did you know what was going on in Detroit in 1970?
You're talking about MLK just died. We got riots going on. There was a lot happening, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You had the race riots going on in Detroit, big time, burning police cars, destroying everything. And Fort Wayne, Indiana is only 113 miles away. Well, people talk about culture shock. I don't think anybody's ever went through culture shock like I did. I went from Hawaii, Honolulu, Lookout Point, Waikiki Beach, the North Shore,
Oh yeah.
Diamond Head, to the ghetto of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah,
I was the only dirty white-tailed donkey.
night and day.
Night and day. But my mom saved my life. I've been beaten near death a couple of times, and I was only 9 years old. I didn't even know what racist terms were because my dad's best friend was John Washington. John Washington was black as black could be, and he was married to a white woman who was Arctic Circle honky. He couldn't get no whiter. But, that was my dad's best friend, so I was never, they came over our house, went over their house, and they worked together at the state hospital there in Fort Wayne. And my mom saved my life. She bought me a reversible winter coat because I had never seen snow before. 4 years, it's a long time for a little kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much about snow other than it was wet and cold, and I didn't care for it too much. And first day in school, I got my butt spanked by the principal with the board because the crosswalk guard said I was throwing snowballs at him. And then my dad whipped me when I got home. And then I asked him what a snowball was because I had no idea. Let alone throwing anything at anybody. I don't throw stuff to people I don't know.
Right.
But my mom bought me that coat from Sears and Roebuck's, and it was a reversible jacket. So it was blue on one side. You flipped it inside out, and it was red with a ski mask, gloves, and happening to be able to imitate the pimp walk perfectly. I walked right past Fred and his boys that were waiting to kick my butt because I did have one friend, and he couldn't really be my friend, but he was like the guy that felt sorry for the fly that was getting his wings pulled off. But don't worry. I started taking judo and jiu-jitsu after that, and not too many people whipped on me too much after that, so that's that. It is what it is, but getting this Ukraine thing, I hate Connecticut. I hate this state with a passion. I can't hate nothing anymore. I'm from Florida. I've done called the senators Blumenthal and Murphy. I gave them an earful about what I thought about Ukraine, about what I thought about my son and daughter going to fight. And no, I didn't spend 4 years in the Army to have these idiots go and get us into a made war because Jacob Rothschild wants to rule the world. And that's what everything boils down to. The World Economic Forum. In 2015, Jacob Rothschild said, Vladimir Putin has committed treason to the New World Order and must be punished. Because Vladimir Putin does not want to give the sovereignty of the Russian people away. And he doesn't want to have a mass execution. They want to get the world's population below 500 million people. That's what the vaccines were for. 122,000 children in America alone have died in 1 year of heart attacks. I'm 62 years old. I ain't never heard of little kids dying from heart attacks before.
Right.
This is criminal. This is criminal. My Rumble page is FNA Ranger. Now, some of my videos are just me giving my opinion. Some are giving me my opinion, but then I give you the videos that I found and copied. But getting to that Wuhan lab leak at the beginning of the scamdemic, in Wuhan, China, the security footage showed people putting blocks of dry ice over the vents before rush hour to infect lots of people with that virus. At that time, I did not know how to record my screen on my cell phone. If I did, I would have another hard drive full of videos from around the world that I'd found. But Serpent Zeta and Laway 86 on ADV podcast put out a comprehensive hour-long report on how the virus started, the doctors involved, because Serpent Zeta's wife, Serpent Zeta, lived in China for 14 years.
I'll only cut you off, but we got. I got
yeah,
my call.
yeah. I'm sorry, but his wife's a Chinese doctor. She knows the doctors that were silenced permanently
right on.
at the beginning, and they took the video down, but it's out there. And I'll leave you with that, ABL. God bless. God bless America. Call your representatives. Tell them this war has gone on long. We're done with it. We got to go. You take care, brother.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate you. All right. Shout out to my man for the call. Most certainly appreciate him. Let's get to some more here. Let's go. 747 on the line. Who am I speaking to? 747, hello. Going once, going twice. All right. Sorry, 747, but you got to be quicker than that. Let's go to 989. You're on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Picture here at today's gathering of the council.
989, hello.
Yeah, what up?
Everything's good. Stream down in the background for me, please.
Yeah, I turned it down, dude.
All righty. What's happening?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Everything's all right, man. Can't complain.
Are we live? We on the show?
We're live. We're live right now.
That's badass, dude. ABL, dude, what up?
It's all good. What's on your mind, boss?
Oh, I was just wondering what you were talking about when I called. I've been on hold for like 45 minutes, so I don't remember. But, I know what it is, dude. You got me blocked, dude. I'm corn pop.
Yeah, man, I can help you with that. All right, I'm gonna just, you know what? I don't even get no time. My patience is thin as thin can get. I don't even want to deal with that. Bye. Just bye. All right. Let's continue here. All right. If you called in once today, you can't come in again. Somebody else is trying to call in that already called in. You can't do that. All right. Let's go to my next call. Okay, caller, can you hear me? 747, you're on the line.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Who am I speaking
Hello?
to? Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Susan. I just wanted to add a note to what everybody's speaking about. It says June 28, 2020, Adams claimed on Twitter that Dilbert's show was canceled because he was white. And UPN had decided to focus on an African-American audience and that he had been discriminated against. So I don't know if he was so worried about being discriminated against or he was worried about Dilbert being discriminated against. But obviously this is kind of in his crawl because he no longer has employment. Anyway, yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a deeper look into it.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
But, yeah, I've been in similar circumstances as your prior caller. And, you know, we all do the best we can.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard, difficult circumstances, but you do the best you can, right?
That's right. And you try to connect with people. And, you know, if it works out good for everybody, you know, I have a small business. So yeah, that's how we play it.
Right on. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for your show. It's really great.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate you.
Uh-huh.
Great call. Shout out to her. All righty. Let me go. All righty, Les, what's happening?
Hey, ABL, how are you?
It's all good. About yourself?
Oh, my goodness. Good. Thank you for asking. That was funny. Your last call, we're like, ooh, ABL's a savage. So I wanted to go ahead and just do a quick comment on the Zelensky and, of course, Beetlejuice, the infamous Chicago mayor, Beetlejuice.
That's right.
And so with the whole Zelensky thing, I started laughing because I was like, wait a minute, how is he saying, you know, that we're going to have to be sending out, you know, our kids out there to fight? First of all, the majority of the patriots of this country, at least, are not in agreement with what's going on in Ukraine. We didn't even agree for all our tax-paying dollars to go out there. What makes him think that we're going to even agree to go ahead now to send our children out there to fight a war that has nothing to do with us, but has everything to do with the deep state and the whole criminal syndicate that's going on over there? So with that being said, ABL, where is Nancy Pelosi's kids? Where is Biden's kids? Where's all these deep state major key players' kids to go out there and help him fight this Ukraine war?
That's a very, very good question, and they're nowhere to be found. They're going to be chilling somewhere, not worried about it at all.
Well, I heard that with Biden, Hunter. I don't know if you heard this story, but I'll tell you where he is. I know he's in hiding somewhere in California, so they gotta go locate him and give him his papers that he's drafted. That and of course Beetlejuice. Let's not forget the infamous Beetlejuice. Just because I'm out here in the state of Illinois, unfortunately, I'll be out soon. But it kind of struck me as odd that she did not win the re-election just because it is majority Democrat out there. It is definitely, I guess you can say it's a little bit of some hope for the city, ABL, but I mean, that too, let's not be fooled because the two runner-ups are Democrat as well. And I was actually just in Paul Vala's website, and isn't the wonderful word that the left cradles so much is that inequity word?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have heard that.
Right? That's actually in his website. So that kind of struck me as odd. I mean, I listened to everything you had to say, that he was, pretty much throwing out a lot of key buzzwords of, what we conservatives like, right? Like safer cities, better school systems, things of that nature. But I mean, I'm on his actual website and I'm seeing few key points of what the Democrats actually embrace. So this is going to be an interesting one, ABL. I think this is just going to be one of those where we have to stand by and just really see.
Oh, definitely. Definitely got to stand by and see how that whole thing works, how the whole thing pans out.
Yeah, but I really honestly pray, for the city of Chicago. And, I really honestly hope that, I mean, even if it's a Democrat mayor, ABL, because I'm not sure if you've heard this, I've heard that there has been a lot of other positions, especially judges and things within the court system, that a lot of these individuals have to run off as Democrats just so that they could even be considered to be elected, to be on the ballots and things like that. So it's kind of you get what I'm saying? I don't know if it's just one of those kind of stunts that are trying to be pulled here, but I honestly, let's just all cross our fingers. But I don't know, Bill, especially with the governor that the state of Illinois has. I don't know. We'll see. But that's all I wanted to comment on. Wonderful show. God bless you, ABL. I want to wish everyone a wonderful night. And the little Patriots want to say good night as well.
Good night, y'all. Thank y'all.
Bye, ABL. Take care.
All right. That will be a wrap for me tonight. I'm hearing the thunder already outside my door. Y'all know what that means. Was the thunder start? That power going to go out immediately. So thank y'all again for being here. You guys are the best audience anywhere on these internets. I'll be back live again on Saturday. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's right now, 11 Eastern time. I'll talk for a while in the beginning, and I'll take calls at the end. Y'all know how it goes. Thank you for being here. You guys are the best audience anywhere on these internets. Shout out to everybody for watching, for super chatting, for retweeting, whatever you're doing. I appreciate you. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you to the mods for doing what you do. Could not do the show without you as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for the all the compliments. Decoy voice, appreciate you for that. I see you. And we got super chats on deck. I'm gonna read right quick. Then I wrap it on up. Put the bowl clean on top. Thank you to Michael Critchlow, who says, as a black man, I'm having a hard time being upset with Scott Adams. I think Brandon Tatum's take was on point. Thank you to Pretty Prudent for your super chats. I appreciate you. I won't read those, though. I don't want to be rude to somebody. Thank you to Ansel, who says, it was good talking to you again. Take care. Thank you for that, boss. Appreciate you. Thank you to Buck versus Windshield, who says, I have always said only the black community can fix the black community. Money doesn't solve society issues. Forcing laws on the community is subjugation, not a cure. Thank you to Ed Ramsey for your very first super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you to Buck versus Windshield again, who says 2013 Obama said his new housing first would end homelessness in 10 years. He forced states to use his plan or they would lose HUD monies. 10 years later, it is a proven failure. We need to remove it. There you go. I am with you on that. But that'll be a wrap for me. I will see you guys again next time. And until next time, y'all be safe. I'm out. And peace.